Chapter 2063. Linny wasn't leaving, and so was Xinyan. She knew what Linny was doing, and she was afraid that Linny would lose his perfume if she moved, and so she kept her position close to Linny, not daring to move at all. Linny wasn't leaving, and so was Han Jingjing. The two had agreed that they'd walk together after school, if there wasn't anything else. Han Jingjing looked at Lin Yi and Xinyan curiously, wondering what they were doing. However, Han Jingjing didn't ask anything. Instead, she took out her tablet and continued to calculate something on it. Lin Yi was in a practicing state, but he was aware of what was going on in the outside world. His consciousness was connected to the outside world, or else he wouldn't be able to practice and listen to class at the same time. Lin Yi knew that everyone had left, but Lin Yi didn't want to let go of the pleasure that came with training. Fu. Lin Yi exited his training mode and looked at Xinyan apologetically. He wanted to say something, but didn't know what to say. All he could say was a single word. Thank you. You're done with your training? Xinyan didn't know about the relationship between Han Jingjing and Lin Yi, so she kept her voice low when she asked. The classroom was very quiet right now, and she had to be extra careful when she spoke. Yeah. Thanks for your hard work. Lin Yi nodded. It's nothing. Xinyan shook her head with a smile. Then, I'll be going. Yeah, let's go together. Lin Yi said. But for now, put on your coat, it'll be cold outside. Yeah. Xinyan was a little embarrassed when Lin Yi lifted her coat. Han Jingjing, on the other hand, looked at Xinyan and Lin Yi curiously, not knowing what they were talking about. Big brother Lin Yi, what are you talking about with Xinyan? Something about training? Were you cultivating before? Han Jingjing asked curiously. Yes, I was cultivating just now. Lin Yi did not hide anything from Han Jingjing. Oh. But why are you thanking her? Han Jingjing nodded, but it was a little strange that Lin Yi was thanking Wang Xinyan. Actually, Xianyan is a little special. When she's by my side, she can help me cultivate. Since it involves Xinyan's privacy, Lin Yi didn't go into too much detail, leaving it vague. Naturally, Lin Yi wasn't guarded against Han Jingjing. After all, she knew some of Lin Yi's super secrets. Training beside Xinyan wasn't a big deal. Special? Help with cultivation? Han Jingjing, on the other hand, looked at Xinyan curiously, trying to figure out what was so strange about her. Xinyan, on the other hand, was quite embarrassed from Han Jingjing's stare. She didn't know what to do. Jingjing, don't look at Xinyan like that. You have me to help you level up. You don't need it. Lin Yi said. Oh. Han Jingjing was no longer curious after hearing Lin Yi's words. She nodded and didn't say anything else. Xinyan, on the other hand, was a little curious after hearing the conversation between Lin Yi and Han Jingjing. Lin Yi didn't seem to be hiding things from Han Jingjing either. Was Han Jingjing and Lin Yi that close already? Xinyan was curious, but she wasn't the curious type. She parted ways with Lin Yi after they left the biology building. Big brother Lin Yi, you and Xinyan seem to be pretty close? Han Jingjing asked as they walked. Haha. We've known each other for a long time, we're pretty close. Lin Yi nodded. Oh. Then are you two a couple? Han Jingjing asked. No, just a little better. Lin Yi said. That's good then. Looks like I still have a chance. Han Jingjing nodded happily. What chance? Lin Yi blinked at Han Jingjing's sudden leap in thought. Nothing. Han Jingjing shook her head. Ah, right, Lin Yi bro, I can condense metal, wood, water, fire and earth now, but the conversion between them isn't as smooth as before. There's still a bit of complexity in the conversion, so I'm working on simplifying it. With that, Han Jingjing waved the tablet in her hand. You've already condensed it? Lin Yi's eyes widened. He wasn't expecting Han Jingjing to be this skilled. Hadn't she done it in the morning? Otherwise, she would have told me in the morning. It seemed that she had only condensed it in one day. However, for Han Jingjing's genius, Lin Yi was already used to it. Lin Yi was almost numb now. He had to admit that Han Jingjing was probably the first alchemist to propose scientific alchemy. Of course, it wasn't enough to have a scientific alchemy brain. You must have a certain qualification. And this Han Jingjing was probably a genius with both qualifications and brains. Of course, in comparison, her qualifications might be a little worse. After all, Han Jingjing also said that his sensitivity to controlling the alchemy fire was a little worse, but he could make up for it with a formula. But this was enough. Yeah, but I can't convert it at will. There are still some obstacles, so Jingjing has to keep working hard and continue to simplify and optimize the conversion. Han Jingjing nodded and said, "Okay, you work hard." Lin nodded blankly. "You can also try to refine some earth-level elixirs with those 2 cauldrons. The things that Right Coiling Tiger took out are definitely not trash. They should be good stuff." "NN." Han Jingjing nodded. The 2 came to the parking lot together. Meng Yao Yushu and Han Xiaoqiao were already waiting there. Today Lin was delayed in his practice, so he was a little late. "Shield bro, why are you so slow today? Did your teacher delay the class?" Yushu asked after seeing Lin. "No, I was practicing before, so I was delayed," Lin said. "Get in the car, it's a little cold. Let's go back now." Back home, Lin didn't say anything the whole night. On the other hand, Right Coiling Tiger immediately drove to the hidden house U after school. The hidden house U wasn't in Donghai, but in a small town between Donghai and Songshan. This was also the reason why Right Coiling Tiger took the college entrance examination in Songshan, because he was affiliated to a high school in Songshan. Chapter 2064. Good stuff. When Right Coiling Tiger heard Lin Yi's name, he gritted his teeth in anger. "Uncle, I was tricked by Lin Yi. Motherfucker, Lin Yi played with me. He tricked me with a street vendor's goods." "Tricked you? What's going on?" Right Jintian's face darkened and he frowned. "Coiling Tiger, you're not young anymore. Even if you suffered a loss, you have to keep your composure. Don't curse every time you open your mouth. Tell me the details." "Yes, big uncle." Right Coiling Tiger nodded and told his big uncle everything that had happened today. Right Coiling Tiger didn't dare to hide or exaggerate because he knew that although the yellow-haired and purple-haired men were his subordinates, they wouldn't hide anything in front of his uncle. If he spoke carelessly, his uncle would be even angrier when he found out the truth. "If that's the case, you were careless? That Lin Yi clearly reminded you many times that our hidden Yu family also has his stuff. Moreover, exchanging with you is cheating you. Did you insist on exchanging?" Right Jintian asked. "Uncle, although that's the case, you also know that Lin Yi is cunning. In that situation, anyone would think that he didn't want to exchange, and said that to increase the value of the information in his hands. Who knew that it was really like that?" Right Coiling Tiger said bitterly. "This matter can't be completely blamed on me." "It can't be completely blamed on you." Right Jintian waved his hand. "However, as the saying goes, learn from your mistakes. In the future, you have to be more wary of that Lin Yi. Although the first grade and second grade cauldrons are expensive, our hidden Yu family can afford to lose them. Let's forget about this matter." "Yes." Right Coiling Tiger said that, but he didn't agree with it in his heart. Let's forget about it? With Right Jintian's strong personality, if it was someone else who cheated them of the hidden Yu family's stuff, how could he just let it go? But in the face of Lin Yi, how could he not let it go? Not only had Right 13 been eliminated, but the hidden Zhao family's Earth-class late-phase master had also been killed by Lin Yi. If they wanted to fight against Lin Yi, they would have to send out a Sky-class master. However, it was obviously not worth it to offend the Heavenly Elixir sect by sending a Heaven Stage expert for Lin Yi. The Heavenly Elixir sect didn't dare to casually send a Heaven Stage expert to the secular world for the sake of balance. How could the Hidden Yu family dare to do so? "Oh right, the Hidden House Summit is about to be held. Your strength has also broken through to the early phase of the Mystic class. You should have 100% confidence in concocting a level 1 pill, right?" Yu Jintian changed the topic and looked at Yu Coiling Tiger. "There should be no problem." Right Coiling Tiger nodded and said, "However, after I consume 2 spirit gathering pills and raise my strength again, I should be more confident. And when the time comes, there will be a competition for pill concocting. At that time, our Yu family might send you as the representative. After all, only your age is suitable." Yu Jintian said, "When the time comes, as long as you can concoct a level 1 pill, it will be your victory. After all, the other hidden houses don't have any alchemists participating. Those alchemists are all over 25 years old, which is outside of the competition rules." "Okay. Right Coiling Tiger quickly nodded. Don't worry, uncle. If that's the case, then victory will definitely be mine. Okay, if that's the case, you can go back, Yu Zhentian said. You've lost this time. Next time, watch carefully before you make the same mistake. Yes, uncle. Right Coiling Tiger let out a sigh of relief and turned to leave. Right Zhentian really didn't have the mood to reprimand Right Coiling Tiger. All his thoughts were on the Hidden House Summit. To put it bluntly, this Hidden House Summit was actually an alliance of a few hidden houses to scam the Hidden House of Han. All the competitions were basically designed for each hidden house, and each hidden house had a competition that they were good at. For example, House Xiao was good at racing, and House Yu was good at concocting pills. This way, each hidden house would be able to obtain a treasure from the Hidden House of Han in the end. This was also why Yu Zhentian didn't have the mood to reprimand Right Coiling Tiger. Another reason was that even if he reprimanded Right Coiling Tiger, what use would it be? Wasn't he, Yu Zhentian, still unable to do anything to Lin Yi? For a troublemaker like Lin Yi, unless they sent a Sky-class master to kill him. But if the ancient sects didn't agree, who would dare to send Sky-class masters outside? It had been a few months since the college entrance exams, but Zhong Pingliang still hadn't reported to school. It wasn't that he didn't want to go, but he hadn't thought of how to face Lin Yi and Meng Yao. Zhong Pingliang hated Lin Yi to the bone, but what was the use of hating him? Lin Yi was getting stronger and stronger, and even Zhang Naipeo wasn't his match. Even if Zhong Pingliang wanted to go against Lin Yi, he didn't have the strength and courage to do so. With Zhong Pingliang's college entrance exam results, he wouldn't even be able to get into a third-rate university, and it was the same for his follower, Gao Xiaofu. However, Zhong Fabai was rich. He gave Zhong Pingliang and Gao Xiaofu a huge sponsorship fee, and so the two became self-funded students of Donghai Industry University's joint college. The so-called joint college was a private university jointly run by a company and a university. Although the class location was the same as a regular university, the graduation certificate was different. The graduation certificate would have the name of the joint college written on it. Of course, for a rich kid like Zhong Pingliang, who didn't care about his graduation certificate, it didn't matter what was written on it. The school had lower requirements for self-funded students like this, and it didn't matter if they participated in military training or not. After all, most of the students here were just trying to get a degree, and they would all go to their family's business after graduation. Zhong Pingliang and Gao Xiaofu didn't report to school, not because they were lazy, but because they didn't want to. They didn't want to have to lower their heads, and so before they reported to school, he brought Gao Xiaofu to Zhang Naipeo's training ground, the Everyday sect. This time, the two met with Naipeo without a hitch. At this moment, Naipeo's entire demeanor had changed. The arrogance from before were gone, replaced with a sense of confidence and calmness. However, the pride in his bones was still there. Liang bro. But no matter what, Zhang Naipeo's loyalty to Zhong Pingliang hadn't changed at all. Zhong Pingliang was just a normal person, but Naipeo didn't put on any airs in front of him at all. He cupped his fist respectfully like a little brother. Chapter 2065. Plus, he'd gotten smarter and more reserved after all these setbacks. He knew that his strength wasn't on the same level as Naipeo's, and he didn't want to put on airs and make Naipeo hate him. That way, they wouldn't be able to maintain their boss and follower relationship. Liang bro, you know what kind of person I am? Naipeo said. You're talking to me like that because you're afraid of me, and you're not treating me like a follower anymore. Liang bro, you're the savior of my family, and it's all because of Heibao bro's recommendation that I came to this everyday sect. It's all thanks to you, Liang bro. I, Naipeo, used to be your follower, and I'm still your follower. In this life, I only have one enemy, and that's Lin Yi. I have you as my boss, and I have a master, and that's the everyday sect. Naipeo's words were passionate, without a hint of pretense or falsehood. Pinliang was very touched. Good pal, you're my good brother. Liang bro, I only have one goal in coming here, to deal with Lin Yi. Not only is he Liang bro's enemy, he's my enemy as well. You don't have to do this, Liang bro, Naipeo said. It's just that I haven't completed the second stage yet, so I can't leave the mountain yet. But if there's a chance, I'll make sure to cripple that Lin Yi and bring him to you, Liang bro, so that you can take care of Lin Yi. All right. Pinliang nodded excitedly. Pow, what's your strength now? I'm an Earth class mid-phase now. With that, Naipeo's eyes flashed with unwillingness. According to the news I received, Lin Yi can even kill an Earth class late phase so effortlessly. It seems like I won't be able to take on Lin Yi without reaching the second stage of his arts. What? Lin Yi's that strong? He can even kill an Earth class late phase? Pinliang was shocked. Didn't they say that Lin Yi was a mystic late phase peak? When did he break through? I'm not sure either. Naipeo shook his head. My information sources are limited as well. After all, our everyday sect can't keep an eye on Lin Yi all the time. This guy is really lucky. How did he improve so quickly? Pinliang recalled Lin Yi's progress and felt a little discouraged. Looks like we're still being left behind by him. Don't worry, once I master the second stage, even if that Lin Yi is an Earth class late phase peak, as long as he's not a Sky class, I'll be able to beat him. Naipeo said confidently. What's the saying? The first to get fat isn't considered fat. Wait for me to catch up. Oh, Pow, do you have a trump card? Pinliang was overjoyed. Of course I have my trump cards. Naipeo grinned. But Liang bro, forgive me for keeping you in suspense. I'm restricted by my sect, and I can't say anything before I master the art. Haha, it's fine. I wouldn't understand even if you told me. As long as I can beat that Lin Yi, it's fine. Pinliang said, the rest doesn't matter. It's great that you understand, Liang bro. Naipeo nodded. Liang bro, as long as we tolerate that Lin Yi for now, I'll deal with him in the future. Let him be happy for a while. Man, Pow, you don't know this, but I actually have something to ask of you this time. Pinliang sighed. As much as I've been tolerating him, I didn't think that I'd end up in the same university as Lin Yi. I heard that he's in that university, and I didn't even dare bring Fu there, afraid that Lin Yi would bully us. Oh, you're in the same university as Lin Yi? Naipeo said, surprised. If that's the case, then there's going to be some conflict. Yeah, that's why I'm here to discuss this with you, Pow, and see if there's any way to protect me from that Lin Yi. Pinliang said, I'm your boss after all, and you're a core disciple of the everyday sect now. If I get bullied, wouldn't you lose face as well? That's true. Naipeo nodded. How about this? I'll talk to my master and see if he can take you in as an outer disciple, and give you a good treasure. We don't need to bully people, but we need to have the ability to protect ourselves. Pow, you're too good to my boss. Pinliang didn't think that Naipeo would be this easygoing, asking his master for a treasure. Pinliang had been thinking of using his relationship with Naipeo to get him an outer disciple, or a contact person for the everyday sect in the common world. That way, he wouldn't be able to suppress Lin Yi, but at least he'd be able to show off in school when Lin Yi wasn't around. As long as he didn't get into a direct conflict with Lin Yi, university life would be quite enjoyable. If he had to suppress himself for 4 years, it'd be worse than death. The last part of his 12th year in high school was already quite stressful for Pinliang, and he'd finally gotten into university. He'd wanted to be known as the big boss or young bully of the school, but he'd have to face off against Lin Yi again. But among all the schools in Donghai, only Donghai Industry University had a school that accepted students who paid for their own students. The other schools didn't have this system, and Pinliang had no other choice. Plus, he'd already paid up, and it would be hard for him to go to another school. Even if Fabai had some power in Songshan, he didn't have much in Donghai. He was only able to get into this school by paying for his own students. He didn't have the ability to transfer to another school. Liang bro, I've been with you for so long. How could I not know what you're thinking? Naipeo smiled. This treasure is something that Master promised to give to me back then, but once I master the second stage, I won't need it anymore, so I asked Master to give it to you. It's a golden cicada undergarment, and when you wear it, it can block attacks from anything below Sky Class. In other words, no one under Sky Class can hurt you. Ah, really? That strong? Pinliang's eyes widened as he looked at Naipeo in disbelief. Chapter 2066. Naipeo's words were very clear. How could he not know what kind of person Pinliang was? Pinliang's goal in coming here was to borrow Naipeo's strength, to make himself more successful in the university. Since Pinliang wanted to be the school's boss, why wouldn't Naipeo let him have it? From this, one could see that Naipeo treated Pinliang with sincerity, and wasn't the type to forget his roots. After all, the golden cicada undergarment was one of the treasures of the everyday and everyday sect. Although the master had agreed to give it to Naipeo, it was only because he was a core disciple of the everyday and everyday sect. Otherwise, there was no way he'd give something like this away so easily. But it wasn't easy for Naipeo to give this to Pinliang. Of course, it was also because his position in the everyday and everyday sect was getting higher and higher that he made this promise. He was now the next leader of the everyday and everyday sect, a role model for all the young disciples. But even so, convincing the master to give this treasure to an outsider was still a little difficult. "Thank you, Pao," Pinliang said quickly. "Okay, Liang bro, wait here for me, I'll go ask the master." With that, Naipeo walked out of the room. After about the time it took to brew a pot of tea, Naipeo came back, but not by himself this time. He came with a stern-looking middle-aged man. This man was Naipeo's master, the current leader of the everyday and everyday sect. Naipeo had somehow managed to convince the master of the everyday and everyday sect to give the golden cicada undergarment to Pinliang. "Liang bro, this is my Shifu, the current head of the everyday and everyday sect, Pure Yang Sky Master. He's also the elder's last disciple." Naipeo introduced the man to Pinliang. Disciple Zhong Pingliang greets master. Zhong Pingliang wasn't stupid. He knelt on the ground and bowed respectfully when he heard the man's identity. "Get up. Since you're the boss of the common world, there's no need to be so polite," the master said faintly with a wave of his hand. "Yes. Thank you, master." Pinliang quickly stood up, and stood aside respectfully. "This golden cicada undergarment was originally the sect treasure of my everyday and everyday sect, but I've already promised to give it to Naipeo. Now that Naipeo wants to give it to you, it's clear that you have an extraordinary position in Naipeo's heart," the sect master said. "Therefore, for the sake of Naipeo's face, I will accept you as an in-name disciple. Like this, you will have the title of Heavenly Venerate Pure Yang's disciple outside. I don't think those ordinary powers will dare to have any ideas about you. You have to know that an ordinary man's wealth is his own ruin. Your disciple understands. Master, please accept a bow from your disciple." Zhong Pingliang was overjoyed and quickly bowed to his master. How could he not know that if he didn't have any backing and suddenly took out a good treasure, let alone those hidden houses, even a normal practitioner house would covet it? Now that he had the title of Heavenly Venerate Pure Yang's in-name disciple, anyone who dared to steal his treasure would be going against the everyday and everyday sect. That would be a huge crime. Normal houses wouldn't dare, hidden houses wouldn't dare, and ancient sects, even if they knew about this treasure, wouldn't dare to do anything to Zhong Pingliang because of their pride, unless they met the archenemy of the everyday and everyday sect. But the archenemy of the everyday and everyday sect, other than Lin Yi, didn't have any. In the ancient world, if one wanted to become an enemy of the everyday and everyday sect, they would have to weigh their own strength first. "Very well," said the sect leader. "I'll bestow this golden cicada undergarment to you. In a moment, I'll give you a command medallion. It's a keepsake for being a disciple of the everyday and everyday sect. If anyone comes looking for trouble, you can show them your keepsake." "Yes, your disciple understands," Zhong Pingliang quickly replied. "Since you're here, you can stay here for a few days. Naipeo, cultivation requires a balance between work and rest. You can stay with Pinliang these few days," the sect master said with a wave of his hand. Since he had taken Zhong Pingliang in as an in-name disciple, he would naturally call him Pinliang. "Bring him around our everyday and everyday sect." "Yes, sect master," Naipeo said. These few days Han Jingjing had been studying elixir refinement and elixir refinement. During the day, she would write and draw on her tablet, and at night, she would practice elixir refinement until midnight before going to bed. As a result, she would wake up with either rabbit eyes or panda eyes. Han Jingjing's hard work made Linny very emotional as well. It seemed like her obsession with elixir refinement wasn't normal at all. These few days, the first thing Xinyan did when she saw Lin Yi in the classroom was to take off her jacket, unbutton her shirt, or put on a shirt with a wide collar. What surprised Lin Yi was that Xinyan didn't even seem to be wearing a bra. This made Lin Yi feel a little guilty. Lin Yi wanted to remind her a few times that not wearing a bra might affect the beauty of her chest, but he was too embarrassed to bring it up. At the end of the day, Xinyan was doing this so that her body fragrance could spread out more for Lin Yi's training. And so Lin Yi was grateful and helpless at the same time. He didn't want Xinyan to be affected because of him. Actually, you can wear a bra. Lin Yi couldn't help but remind her. It's already good enough, you don't have to do it anymore. I didn't. Xinyan blushed. It's just that the bra size was a little too small. I didn't buy a new one. Of course, Wang Xinyan wouldn't admit what she was trying to achieve by doing this. Haha, I know. Lin Yi said that, but he didn't know what he knew. The next day, however, Xinyan went back to wearing a bra, but under the jacket was a loose t-shirt. Perhaps this would allow the scent of her body to spread out better. Zhang Duopan and Fan Ganhe, on the other hand, had temporarily disappeared. Bai Weituo went to ask around, but it wasn't that the two had stopped, but that they were in the hospital after being bitten by a lion. It was a bite after all, and the two didn't really want to go to class. They had an excuse to skip school and rest for a few days, so why not? Chapter 2067. Every day after class, He Coiling Tiger would leave the classroom with his two subordinates. In fact, it wasn't that He Coiling Tiger wanted to let Lin Yi go, but he really didn't have any good ideas to deal with Lin Yi. He wanted to mess with Lin Yi, but he didn't have any good ideas, and he didn't have any good opportunities. Plus, he was busy concocting pills after school, trying to win the Hidden House Summit. Naturally, he didn't have time to deal with Lin Yi. During this period, Lin Yi was worried about Su Shihan. He gave her a call and asked if she met any criminals after she went back, but Su Shihan said that she was safe, and there were no suspicious people who attacked her. This made Lin Yi relax. In the blink of an eye, it was the 13th of this month, 2 days before the Hidden House Summit. The rules of the competition had been sent to all the hidden houses, and Lin Yi met Han Xiaopa as promised. This time, Han Xiaopa called after school. Lin Yi had already told Ming Yao, Yu Shu, and Han Jingjing about the Hidden House Summit, and that he might be away for a few days. For safety reasons, Lin Yi let them stay in the school dorm, not letting them go to school alone. Although, from the current situation, Lin Yi's enemies had basically all stopped. At least they didn't have any plans to deal with Lin Yi in the near future. So the Miss and the others shouldn't be in danger, but staying in the school was safer. Boss! Han Xiaopa saw Lin Yi and waved at Lin Yi impatiently. He had been waiting for a long time in the parking lot of the school. You came? Lin Yi nodded and said, Where are we going now? Boss, if you don't have anything to do, stay at my house tonight. Tomorrow is the registration day for the Hidden House Summit, and the competition will officially start the day after tomorrow. We need to study the rules of the competition in advance. Han Xiaopa said. Are you worried about your strength? Lin Yi smiled faintly as he glanced at Han Xiaopa. Actually, it would be a lie to say that I'm not worried. After all, there are less than 2 days left, and I'm so weak. If I really participate in the duos match, I'll definitely be a burden. Han Xiaopa didn't pretend to be fake as he spoke the truth. 2 days, that's enough. Lin Yi said casually. Han Xiaopa was slightly taken aback. He did not understand how Lin Yi could improve his strength in 2 days, but since he had already recognized Lin Yi as his boss, he should trust Lin Yi. Hence he said, I'll listen to you, boss. Let's go. We'll go to your Hidden Han family first, Lin Yi said. Okay, boss, please get in the car. Han Xiaopa was still driving the Mercedes-Benz S600. He respectfully opened the door and let Lin Yi in. Then he sat in the driver's seat and started the car. As he drove, he said, Boss, the ingredients for the Qi gathering pill have already been prepared. When you arrive at the Hidden Han family, you'll have it with both hands. That's not urgent. Lin Yi actually didn't want to steal the Hidden Han family's treasure. It was just that Han Xiaopa was a little too impatient and wanted to prove his intentions, so he took out such a good thing. But since this thing was useful to Lin Yi, there was no reason for Lin Yi to reject it. The Hidden Han family's location was not in the city of Donghai City, but in the suburbs of Donghai City. At the edge of a small town in the suburbs of Donghai City, there was a very large manor. There was no sign or house number, but it had a very high wall. If one came here for the first time, they might even think that this was the location of a prison. In fact, this was also the first impression that this place gave to Lin Yi. The appearance of this manor was not eye-catching, and it was very low-key. Not many people would notice it, but this was the location of the hidden Han family. This was Lin Yi's first time visiting a hidden family, so he was a little curious about the buildings here. So this was the so-called hidden family. It really was a family hidden in the city. However, in Lin Yi's memory, he had been to a hidden family once before, but he had no memory of the specific location. Could it be a dream? Han Xiaopa's car stopped at an inconspicuous entrance of this manor. Although this entrance was inconspicuous, a normal car would definitely not open the door so easily. It was probably because they saw Han Xiaopa's car through the security camera, so the manor's gate opened automatically. The security here is quite strict. This gate's design is not simple, Lin Yi said as he looked at the gate of the manor. With Lin Yi's experience and eyesight, not only could he see that the design of this gate was a little special, it should be anti-theft and anti-intrusion. Oh, boss, you know these things too? Han Xiaopa was a little surprised. The gate of the hidden Han family was indeed designed by a professional security designer. It had anti-theft and anti-intrusion functions, and it could send out a warning signal if someone broke in or tried to pry open the door. It could also release a high voltage in an instant. Even a normal cultivator would not be able to withstand this high voltage. Unless it was someone who had a body that was impervious to weapons, water, and fire, such as the golden bell shield and the iron shirt, they would be able to avoid this kind of injury. Therefore, this kind of security was not said to be lax. I know a thing or two, Lin Yi said calmly. Although this gate looked relatively safe, Lin Yi had a way to deal with it, but Lin Yi did not say it out loud. Hee, boss is really knowledgeable and multi-talented. Han Xiaopa was sincerely impressed. It's already very impressive for a normal cultivator to be able to cultivate wholeheartedly and have some achievements in the path of cultivation. But boss, not only do you know alchemy, you also know how to race, and you also know these security measures. It's really admirable, especially when your strength is not ordinary. After the car entered the gate, it did not take long before it came to a guard booth. This was where the hidden Han family's gate guards were located. Although the Mercedes-Benz license plate belonged to the hidden Han family, it could only pass the first level. For the second level, it still needed to be checked manually. Young Master P. However, after the gate guards walked over and saw that the person driving was Han Xiaopa, they immediately did not stop him. After greeting him respectfully, they opened the railing and let the car smoothly enter the hidden Han family's manor. It seems that your position in the hidden Han family is quite high? Lin Yi asked when he saw the gate guard's reaction. Chapter 2068. Since he had recognized Lin Yi as his boss, sometimes he had to show off his abilities and let Lin Yi know how capable he was. Outstanding descendants are the middle phase of the golden class. Lin Yi sighed. This hidden house Han really wasn't good enough. They had no foundation, and only became a hidden house after unearthing an ancient ruin. No wonder so many hidden houses coveted them. In the end, they were just too weak. The descendants of the other hidden houses were all mystic, or even earth class. Their golden class was already outstanding. They really couldn't compare. There's no other way. Han Xiaopa smiled bitterly. Our family doesn't have any teachers to guide us. Almost everyone in our family got their strength through taking pills and treasures. We didn't train ourselves. It's the same for my father's generation, and it's even more so for our generation. Although we also train, because we fumble around on our own. We always take the wrong path. Lin Yi looked at Han Xiaopa beside him, feeling like they were in the same boat. The hidden house Han had good pills and treasures, but they didn't have a master to guide them, and they were already in this state. He didn't have any pills or treasures, nor did he have a master to guide him. This was the difference between them. Fortunately, he had a good mental cultivation method, and the determination to work hard. That was why he was able to keep up with the disciples of the hidden families and ancient sections. Otherwise, he would have been left behind thousands of miles away. Since there are pills, why didn't your father's generation and your generation just take them and level up to the earth class like your grandfather? Linny asked. Grandfather is the head of the house, and the ancient ruin was discovered by him. Naturally, he has the priority to take the pills. Han Xiaopa explained. The family's pills are all given to grandfather first. But above the earth class, these pills aren't very useful, except for the qi-gathering pill. But they're just ingredients and can't be refined. What about the others? Did your grandfather eat them all? Linny nodded. The others naturally have some as well. Actually, in the ancient ruins that we've discovered, there are a lot of spirit-gathering pills. However, even if there are a lot of them, we can't afford to use them like this. Han Xiaopa said, depending on your talent, a normal person would need around 10 soul-gathering pills to reach the peak of the late phase of the golden class. If you want to break through to the mystic class, you'll need 20 soul-gathering pills, or 1 soul-gathering pill. So there isn't enough? After listening to Han Xiaopa's explanation, Linny understood a little. The spirit-gathering pill was a yellow class level 1 pill, and a yellow class level 1 pill refiner could refine it. However, the spirit-gathering pill was a yellow class level 2 pill refiner, and only a yellow class level 2 pill refiner could refine it. Moreover, the success rate was much lower than the spirit-gathering pill, and the ingredients were much more precious. Therefore, the value of 20 spirit-gathering pills added together was not as much as 1 spirit-gathering pill. There were many hidden families with first-grade alchemists who wanted to use 20 or more spirit-gathering pills to exchange for a single spirit-gathering pill, but they had nowhere to go. Yeah, even if there's a lot, we can't afford to eat like this. My current strength is the result of eating 3 spirit-gathering pills, and that's considered a good talent. For those with poor talent, 3 spirit-gathering pills can only make them into the early phase of the golden class. Han Xiaopa said, there are so many people in the family, and my parents spent a lot of spirit-gathering pills to become mystic, so there's not much left for the 3rd generation. Although it's enough for us juniors to enter the mystic class, it's too wasteful. Let's not talk about the future, but we have to think about the future generations. Can mystic go from the earth class to the mystic class through pills as well? Linny asked. Yes, a master at the peak of the late phase of the mystic class can enter the earth class with 20 soul-gathering pills, or 1 small qi-gathering pill. Han Xiaopa said. Grandpa used a small qi-gathering pill to become an earth class, but his strength hasn't improved much these years. Does your family have more of these pills? Linny wanted to cry after hearing Han Xiaopa's explanation. One could become an earth class just by eating pills? The disciples of the ancient sects and hidden houses had too much of an advantage, didn't they? Of course, lesser qi-gathering pills were not common anymore, unless it was the Heavenly Elixir sect, which could be said to have them whenever they wanted. Or those who were on good terms with the Heavenly Elixir sect could get their hands on a few. Other hidden families, or even ancient sects and ancient families, would have to pay a certain price to get their hands on one. This was enough to show how precious lesser qi-gathering pills were. There's 2 more. Han Xiaopa only hesitated for a moment before telling the truth. Boss, you want them? I can ask Grandpa for you. I don't want them. Linny smiled at Han Xiaopa's words. They're for you to use. At this moment, Linny completely acknowledged Han Xiaopa as a person. This kid treated him pretty well, and he didn't have any ulterior motives. If he was secretive, Linny would have to reconsider his attitude towards him. But Han Xiaopa was willing to spill all of his family's secrets without holding back. It was enough to show his loyalty. Otherwise, if he didn't really want to be Lin Yi's follower, and these secrets were leaked, it would be enough to make their hidden house get destroyed even faster. Me. Han Xiaopa paused. With my current strength, even if I eat a small qi-gathering pill, I can at most jump to the peak of the late phase of the golden class. It's a waste. Hee, you'll know when the time comes. Linny didn't explain for now, but he sighed inwardly. If he'd known this Han Xiaopa earlier, why would he have eaten a qi-gathering pill? It was a waste of heavenly gifts. A small qi-gathering pill was enough. When he leveled up to the earth class, wouldn't eating a qi-gathering pill increase his strength even more? But now, the situation was reversed. Eating a qi-gathering pill first, and then a small qi-gathering pill. It was completely useless. But then again, if Lin Yi wasn't an Earth class and was still stuck at the Mystic class, the hidden house of Han wouldn't have come looking for him. In fact, he would have died in the previous few confrontations. So Lin Yi only sighed and didn't regret it too much. Since Lin Yi didn't want to talk about it in detail, Han Xiaopa naturally didn't ask. He knew that when the time came, Lin Yi would say it. Chapter 2069. Han Tianba, on the other hand, had already received the news from the guards at the entrance. He was already waiting at the entrance of the meeting hall with a group of descendants. Han Tianba didn't dare to be careless with Lin Yi. Lin Yi was an existence that could easily kill an Earth-class late-phase master. It would be a piece of cake for him to destroy the entire hidden Han family. Han Tianba, on the other hand, was only an Earth-class early-phase peak. Han Xiaopa also saw his grandfather's group welcoming Lin Yi from afar. He paused for a moment, but quickly understood his grandfather's intentions. The hidden Han family was going to make a big bet this time. Since they were going to give away the ingredients for the qi-gathering pill, then they would tie the entire Han family's profits to Lin Yi's. Although Lin Yi had many enemies, no matter what, with Lin Yi's strong presence, the hidden Han family's situation would be much better than before. Lin Yi had many enemies, but how many would actually dare to touch Lin Yi? The hidden Han family had become Lin Yi's men. If anyone wanted to touch the hidden Han family, they would have to ask Lin Yi's permission first. Seeing that the hidden Han family had such a big lineup, Lin Yi was a little surprised. He got off the car with Han Xiaopa, and Han Tianba walked over. "Mr. Lin, your presence brings light to my humble home." Han Tianba smiled and cupped his fist at Lin Yi. "Don't be so polite, Mr. Han. Since Xiaopa is my little brother, then he and I are of the same generation. It's not wrong for me to call you Grandpa Han." Lin Yi said. "Haha, on the path of martial arts, it's all about the strong. We're not related by blood, so this seniority is only based on strength, not age." Han Tianba waved his hand dismissively. "Mr. Lin, you can easily kill a late-phase Earth-class master, and I'm just a peak early-phase Earth-class master. It's not wrong for me to call Mr. Lin senior brother, or senior brother. You're being too polite. Alright, it's up to you. I'll still call you Elder Han." Lin Yi did not force it. This was the rule of the cultivators. Lin Yi and Han Tianba were not related by blood, so it was not wrong to judge their seniority based on their strength. "Mr. Lin, I've already prepared a banquet in the meeting hall. I'm just waiting for Mr. Lin to take a seat." Han Tianba smiled and made an inviting gesture. "Xiaopa, bring Mr. Lin to his table." "Yes, Grandpa." Han Xiaopa's heart was extremely pleased at the moment. His grandfather's attitude couldn't be clearer, and he was Lin Yi's little brother. His status in the Han family was self-evident. Seeing Han Xiaochun's envious, jealous and hateful gaze, Han Xiaopa knew that he must be regretting missing out on a good opportunity to interact with Lin Yi. Lin Yi followed Han Xiaopa into the meeting hall, and saw that the banquet was already prepared. The cold dishes were already prepared, but the hot dishes had not yet been served. It was obvious that the dishes would only be served after Lin Yi and the others were seated. Lin Yi sat down. Only then did Han Tianba and the rest of the family take their seats. Han Xiaopa sat on Lin Yi's left, and Han Tianba sat on Lin Yi's right. It was enough to show that Han Xiaopa's current status was extraordinary. "Mr. Lin, welcome. Before the banquet begins, would you like to give the hidden Han family a lecture?" Han Tianba asked respectfully after he took his seat. "Lecture?" Lin Yi smiled bitterly and shook his head. "I'm not their elder or master. There's no need to lecture them. Besides, I'm not that difficult to talk to. Since they're all Xiaopa's family, then do as you please." "Alright, since Mr. Lin says, then let's do as you please. Let's begin." Han Tianba waved at the disciples on the side, signaling them to start serving the dishes. The ingredients for the dishes were all prepared, and under Han Tianba's command, the chefs started working. Very soon, the dishes were on the table. Although Han Tianba said that they could do as they please, no one dared to touch their chopsticks before Lin Yi. They only dared to eat after Lin Yi had a taste of each dish. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was really starving. He didn't hold back. He had to eat every day when he came back to the villa, so he just started eating. But every time he ate, Lin Yi would think of Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao shouldn't be lacking food in the Ice Palace now, right? Mr. Lin, on behalf of Hidden House Han, I propose a toast to you. Han Tianba raised his glass when he saw that Lin Yi was almost done eating. As for Lin Yi eating like a tornado, no one dared to say anything. This was the difference between strong and strong. People could only say that Lin Yi was generous when he saw Lin Yi like this. But if it was someone weaker, that person wouldn't know the rules. All right, Lin Yi replied faintly and raised his glass as well. As for Han Xiaopa, he poured himself a glass of wine and stood up as well. Mr. Lin, the fate of our hidden family lies in your hands during this hidden family summit. Han Tianba said. Xiaopa promised that you'll represent Hidden House Han in the competition. And no matter how much you win, it'll all be yours to use, including House Han's. Plus, after you win, you can choose some things you need from Hidden House Han's treasury. Han Tianba understood that he'd rather give all of these things to Lin Yi. Even if it was a bit more, it was better than giving it to the other hidden houses. If he gave it to Lin Yi would be able to protect them, but if he gave it to the other hidden houses, they'd only get greedier. With this sweet taste, there'd be all sorts of competitions, tests, summits, and social gatherings in the future. There would only be one goal, and that was to squeeze all the treasures from the ancient ruins dry. That way, not only would Hidden House Han be tired of dealing with the hidden houses, but their position among the hidden houses would also become weaker and weaker. They'd be bullied and bullied. Not only would they lose their position, but they'd also lose all their treasures. It'd be extremely difficult for them to make a comeback. But things were different if they gave the treasures to Lin Yi. With Lin Yi's reputation, the hidden houses wouldn't dare to do anything forceful. Even if Lin Yi only won the race, it didn't matter, because Hidden House Han had announced to the world that they were Lin Yi's men. After this, if they wanted to scam him again, they'd have to see if Lin Yi agreed to it. Chapter 2070. All right, I'll look into the rules and events after dinner to see which ones to participate in. Lin Yi nodded. Thank you, Mr. Lin. Han Tianba said. After dinner, Lin Yi didn't talk much with Han Tianba. Instead, he asked Han Xiaopa to bring him to a place to rest and study the rules of the Hidden House Summit. Boss, are you satisfied with the environment here? Han Xiaopa asked carefully as he brought Lin Yi to the guest room. I'm not too particular about where I live. This place is good enough. From Lin Yi's point of view, this place was even better than his own villa. This must be a guest room that the Hidden House of Han would only use when they receive their guests. Also, you don't have to be so careful in front of me. Since you're my follower, you should be more easygoing. I'll introduce you to my other followers in the future. Okay, boss. Han Xiaopa nodded, but he probably wouldn't be able to let it go so easily. Alright, let's talk about the Hidden House Summit first. What are the events? Lin Yi asked. Yes, boss. I'll tell you about the competition now. As Han Xiaopa spoke, he took out a document and said, These are the rules and regulations jointly issued by the elder families of the Hidden House Summit. Elder families? Lin Yi snorted coldly. Setting up events that are beneficial to them? Ugh, you could say that, but they wouldn't dare to go too far. It's just that our Hidden House of Han is too weak. The events they choose don't have an absolute advantage. Han Xiaopa said with a bitter smile. Lin Yi nodded. Han Xiaopa's words made sense, but the problem was that the Hidden House Hans really didn't have the strength to compete with the other hidden houses. Even if they were against you, you had to be strong in some way, as long as you weren't too weak. This racing competition is definitely going to happen. The rules of the Hidden House Summit also mention this competition. The car for the competition has already been confirmed. It is indeed the Jetta that I heard about, Han Xiaopa said. Okay, any car is the same, Lin Yi said calmly. As long as everyone is using the same car, I have confidence in winning. Great. After Han Xiaopa heard Lin Yi's promise, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. Lin Yi hadn't given him an exact promise before, so Han Xiaopa wasn't sure if Lin Yi could win. Until now, when Lin Yi told him in a very certain tone that he could win, he would definitely win. What about the others? Lin Yi asked. There are also martial arts competitions, individual endurance competitions, individual fighting competitions, hidden weapon dodging competitions, individual arena competitions, duo arena competitions, alchemy competitions, poison identification competitions, and so on. Han Xiaopa said. But the details of the competitions haven't been released yet. At present, we only know these names. Linny nodded. Although the details of these competitions were not out yet, he could basically understand the content of these competitions from the words. These hidden houses didn't deliberately target the hidden house Han. It was just that the hidden house Han really couldn't do it. There wasn't a single expert in these competitions. If he didn't participate, the final result would probably be a complete loss. These competitions, do we still have to place bets even if we don't participate? Linny asked. Of course we have to place bets, Han Xiaopa said. These are the rules of the competition. Even if we forfeit, we still have to place bets. Seems like they are really targeting you guys, Linny said. These competitions, when the details are out, I will look into it. If possible, I will register for a few more. But now it seems like we have a chance of winning the individual arena competition. Linny didn't go too far with his words. He might be able to win the other matches, but he wasn't sure if he'd have an advantage in any of them before the details were out. Still, he could give the single arena a try. If there weren't too strong of an opponent, winning shouldn't be too much of a problem. Great. Boss, you are awesome. Han Xiaopa slapped his thigh and shouted excitedly. This way, our hidden house Han has a chance of winning 2 competitions. This way, we won't lose too much in this hidden house summit. At the very least, when others try to scheme against us in the future, they will have to think about whether or not it'll be a thankless effort. Han Xiaopa was right. If this competition was specifically targeted at the hidden family of Han, then every hidden family would choose a competition that they had an advantage in. However, if the hidden family of Han won 2 rounds in a row, then 2 hidden families would be at a disadvantage. Then, the next time they schemed against the hidden house Han, these 2 hidden houses wouldn't be so proactive. When that time came, they probably wouldn't participate. Didn't you want to be the champion of the duo arena competition? Linny asked with a smile. Yeah, but my strength. Han Xiaopa thought about his own strength and shook his head. There's only 1 day left. The Hidden House Summit is the day after tomorrow. No matter how hard I try, I can't be on par with boss. Go get that little chi-gathering pill, Linny said. Oh, now. Han Xiaopa froze when he heard Lin Yi's non-committal question. Yes now. Linny nodded. Okay. Although Han Xiaopa was a little suspicious as to why Lin Yi wanted him to get the pill now, he still stood up and left the room. After walking for a while, Han Xiaopa saw Han Tianba's figure. Xiaopa. Han Tianba quickly walked up to him. How is it? How many competitions did Mr. Lin agree to participate in? Do you have a chance of winning? Grandpa Boss agreed to participate in the racing and single arena competitions, Han Xiaopa said. Han Xiaopa said, the racer boss said he's confident of winning, and he also has a chance of winning the single elimination tournament. Good, that's great. Han Tianba said happily. This is already beyond our expectations. If we can win in both competitions, then the 2 hidden houses that schemed against us will be at a disadvantage. When that happens, they won't be able to split the spoils evenly. Let's see if they still want to deal with us in the future. Yes, that's right. Han Xiaopa said. And with boss participating, they'll be a little more cautious in the future. That's right. Han Tianba nodded. He then remembered to ask Han Xiaopa, why did you come out now? Don't you want to spend more time with Mr. Lin? Chapter 2071. Small Chi-Gathering Pill? Han Tianba paused. What do you want a small Chi-Gathering Pill for at this time? I don't know, but boss must have his reasons, Han Xiaopa said. All right, come with me. Han Tianba said. Bring the materials for the Chi-Gathering Pill to Mr. Lin as well. Han Xiaopa nodded and followed Han Tianba to the Hidden Han family's treasure vault. The Hidden Han family's treasure vault was located in the most secretive place in the entire Han family's manor. Its security was no less than that of a large bank's vault. Other than a password and key, it could only be opened with Han Tianba's fingerprint. After entering the treasure vault, Han Tianba didn't linger. He took out the materials for the Chi-Gathering Pill and a small Chi-Gathering Pill, and gave them to Han Xiaopa. Everything is here. Bring them to Mr. Lin. I won't be going. I'll sort out some treasures for the Hidden House Summit. Yes, Grandpa. Han Xiaopa nodded and carefully carried the sealed bag and the pill box to Lin Yi's room. After returning to Lin Yi's room, Han Xiaopa placed the 2 items on the table in front of Lin Yi. You're back. What's this? Lin Yi asked when he saw Han Xiaopa bring 2 items. These are the materials for the qi-gathering pill. Han Xiaopa pointed at the sealed bag, then at the pill box, saying, Inside is the small qi-gathering pill. Oh. Lin Yi nodded. You brought the materials for the qi-gathering pill too? Yes, since I promised boss, of course I had to bring them, Han Xiaopa said. Alright. Lin Yi opened the sealed bag and looked inside. It really was the materials for the qi-gathering pill. Lin Yi had the recipe for the qi-gathering pill, so Lin Yi naturally remembered what was written on it. These materials were roughly enough to refine about 5 qi-gathering pills. Lin Yi did not stand on ceremony and immediately put them away. He did not even bother to examine the small qi-gathering pill. Instead, he pointed at Han Xiaopa and said, You sit over here. Yes. Han Xiaopa didn't know what Lin Yi wanted to do, but she still sat down respectfully beside Lin Yi's sofa. In a while, don't mention what I'm going to do to anyone, including your grandfather. Lin Yi said, Can you do this? Yes. Han Xiaopa nodded without hesitation. He had a premonition that the reason why Lin Yi had asked him to bring the pill was definitely not simple. There had to be something inside that he didn't know. Perhaps Lin Yi could activate the effect of the pill and allow him to go from the middle phase of the golden class to the early phase of the mystic class? No, the early phase of the mystic class was a bit of a waste. Could it be the middle phase of the mystic class? Alright, give me your hands and start channeling your cultivation method at full force, Lin Yi said. Oh, full force? Now. Han Xiaopa was slightly taken aback. Yes, Lin Yi said. When I say start, you start. Oh, okay. Han Xiaopa was even more confused, but he still nodded in agreement. Lin Yi grabbed Han Xiaopa's hands and buckled his pulse. Then he channeled the second stage of the art of dragon mastery and said, You can start now. As soon as Lin Yi's voice fell, Han Xiaopa started channeling his Nigong. In a split second, a wave of pure true qi was transferred from Lin Yi to Han Xiaopa's arm through the meridians. Han Xiaopa was shocked and horrified. However, even though Han Xiaopa was shocked, he didn't stop. He followed Lin Yi's instructions and channeled his Nigong at full force. In the next moment, Han Xiaopa felt an overwhelming amount of true qi rush into his body. It was as if this true qi was tailor-made for him. As long as he channeled the Nigong and absorbed it into his body, his strength would increase at a speed that he could feel. Although Han Xiaopa didn't know how Lin Yi did it, he knew that Lin Yi must have given him some benefits. The second stage of the art of dragon mastery was much faster than the first stage. Han Xiaopa was a middle phase of the golden class, but his strength was rapidly increased by Lin Yi. Peak of the middle phase of the golden class, late phase of the golden class, peak of the late phase of the golden class, full completion of the late phase of the golden class straight to the mystic class. This was the second time that Lin Yi leveled up a golden class to the mystic class without any hindrance. There was no sense of a barrier between levels. Han Jingjing was like this before, and now Han Xiaopa was the same. Was there a connection? If there was a connection between these two, it would be that they both had the surname Han. However, Lin Yi was more inclined to think that this was the effect of the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. When helping people level up with the first stage of the art of dragon mastery, whether it was in terms of speed or level barrier, it was not as refreshing as the second stage. Before, Lin Yi thought that Han Jingjing's auxiliary alchemist art didn't have a level barrier, but now it seemed that it wasn't the case. It was just that compared to the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, there was no barrier. Han Xiaopa was surprised to feel his strength skyrocketing from the golden class to the early phase of the mystic class, and that wasn't all. After reaching the mystic class, his strength was still increasing. Could it be that this was the legendary skill transfer? But at this time, Han Xiaopa didn't dare to question it. He only thought about it in his heart, his whole body still focused on absorbing the pure qi that Lin Yi was transferring to him. Mystic late phase, peak of the late phase. Mystic late phase full circle, only one step away from the earth class. At this time, the pure qi transfer from Lin Yi's side came to an abrupt stop. Alright, that's enough. Take this little qi gathering pill. After that, you'll be in early phase of the earth class. Lin Yi pointed at the small qi gathering pill on the table. He was a little envious of Han Xiaopa's luck. It was extremely difficult for Lin Yi to break through himself, but it was easy for him to help others. Alright. Han Xiaopa had a lot of questions in his heart, but since Lin Yi told him to take the pill now, he took it without hesitation. After that, a wave of pure energy spread in his abdomen. This wasn't the first time Han Xiaopa had taken a pill. He quickly closed his eyes and activated his Nigong, trying his best to dissolve this pure energy. Lin Yi didn't disturb him, but sat on the side to protect him. Chapter 2072. Plus, this pill was only useful when a mystic late phase peak was about to break through to the earth class. The effect wouldn't be as great after reaching the earth class, and the increase in strength would be very limited. So it was better to let Han Xiaopa take it now. The effect of the lesser qi gathering pill wasn't as strong as the qi gathering pill, but Lin Yi had experienced it when he broke through from mystic late phase peak to the earth class. That kind of torment was very painful for any practitioner, and Han Xiaopa wasn't any better. But Lin Yi believed that this bit of difficulty was nothing to Han Xiaopa. If he couldn't even get through this pain, then he'd have no future. When the qi around Han Xiaopa thinned out, Lin Yi knew that Han Xiaopa had completed his breakthrough. He was officially an Earth Class early phase master, stepping into the ranks of practitioners. As expected, Han Xiaopa opened his eyes, surprised and happy. He reached out his hands in disbelief. Boss, I'm an Earth Class early phase master now? Earth Class early phase, of course. Lin Yi nodded calmly. This is amazing. Han Xiaopa still felt like he was in a dream. Boss, is this the legendary transfer of strength? You can think of it that way, Lin Yi said. But remember, don't tell anyone about this. I know, Han Xiaopa nodded. Even if Grandpa asks, I won't say anything. In actuality, Han Xiaopa had gathered a large amount of qi around him when he broke through. This was the difference between his breakthrough and Lin Yi's transfer of strength. When Lin Yi transferred strength, he would use the qi, unless he used compressed qi to help someone break through. Normally, he wouldn't use qi when he helped someone break through. The spiritual energy that Han Xiaopa had mobilized naturally attracted the attention of all the cultivators in the hidden Han family, especially Old Man Han, Han Tianba. However, Han Tianba rationally told his family not to disturb or ask about it. Regardless of whether it was Lin Yi or Han Xiaopa who broke through, it would be beneficial to the hidden Han family, so why bother asking about it? As long as you don't speak nonsense, you'll be rewarded in the future. Earth Class late phase peak and Sky Class is not impossible. Lin Yi said faintly. This is the benefit of being my follower. Yes, boss. Han Xiaopa's eyes were burning with passion. Earth Class late phase peak? Or even heaven rank? This was a realm that Han Xiaopa could only dream of reaching in the past. Now it was no longer so unreachable. Above the Earth Class, the only pill that can be taken is the qi gathering pill, but even I can't refine it now, let alone your family. Lin Yi said faintly. Your aptitude isn't very good, so there's no point in continuing to cultivate by yourself. I don't think you'll make any progress, so if you have the time, you'd better study martial skills. As for your strength, when I reach a higher realm, I'll help you increase it again. Lin Yi didn't directly explain that his improved strength could no longer absorb heaven and earth qi through his own cultivation, but from the fact that Han Xiaopa was still able to use the qi gathering pill, it was clear that the energy from the pill was still very effective for practitioners like Lin Yi. Lin Yi himself was also an example. Yes. Han Xiaopa naturally believed whatever Lin Yi said. He didn't doubt Lin Yi's words at all. If his aptitude was good, would he still be in the middle phase of the golden class? So what Lin Yi told him was priceless advice. If he wanted Han Xiaopa to study martial skills, then he would study martial skills. As for the matter of increasing his strength, that would be left to Lin Yi. But Han Xiaopa was a little surprised. Even if Lin Yi could impart his strength, where did Lin Yi's pure qi come from? Why did it look like Lin Yi wasn't affected in any way? Or was he still as spirited as ever, without the slightest bit of pure qi loss? You'll study the techniques tomorrow. You'll be on the stage with me during the double arena. Linny said. You just need to protect yourself. I'll take care of the enemy. Okay, boss. I won't let you down. Han Xiaopo was surprised and happy. If the hidden house of Han were to win another match, then it would be even more of a deterrent to those hidden families who were plotting against the hidden house of Han. They would be shooting themselves in the foot. Then which hidden house do you think is stronger in the duel? Linny asked. I think this match is designed for the hidden house of Zhuang. Han Xiaopo said. I heard that the two brothers from the hidden house of Zhuang have been training hard ever since they came back from the Ice Palace trial. They've also taken some spiritual medicine, and their strength has increased to mid and peak earth class. Plus, their martial skills complement each other, so their chances of winning are very high. Oh, Niao Zhuang? Lin Yi naturally knew about the hidden house of Zhuang. These two had been kissing Naipeo's ass during the Ice Palace trial, but when Lin Yi crippled Naipeo, they were begging for mercy and calling him Master Ling. It was only natural that Lin Yi had some impression of these two pieces of trash. That's right. Han Xiaopo nodded. Boss, you've heard of them? I've heard of them, but I didn't think that their strength would have increased so much. Lin Yi said with a sigh. Not at first, but I heard that the hidden house of Zhuang bought 2 qi gathering pills from the hidden house of Tang at a high price. Plus, the two brothers took a lot of spiritual medicine, so their strength increased by leaps and bounds. Han Xiaopo explained. Hidden house of Tang? Lin Yi frowned. The name sounded familiar, as if he'd heard it somewhere before, but it didn't seem like he had anything to do with it. That's right, it's a hidden house as well. I heard that their ancestor was a disciple of the Tang sect, and they're experts in hidden weapons and poison. Han Xiaopo explained. I'm afraid that this hidden weapon evasion match will be won by the hidden house of Tang. I don't know how the hidden house Zhuang managed to get the hidden house Tang to sell them 2 little qi gathering pills. Lin Yi was a little surprised. These little qi gathering pills had to be very precious. Chapter 2073. Needless to say, Han Xiaopo was a very smart person. His guess was not far from the truth. This time, the hidden house's conspiracy against the hidden house of Han was indeed for the hidden house of Yu and the hidden house of Tang to monopolize all 3 rounds. And the price they had to pay was to give each of the other houses some pills. Identifying poison? Although this is a bit difficult, I'll reluctantly take it. Lin Yi laughed coldly and said, Small qi gathering pills, let them give it up for nothing. Ah. No way, boss, you're good at poison too? Han Xiaopo was surprised. I'm even better at detoxification. Lin Yi shrugged. Actually, I have another identity. I'm a doctor. Haha, boss, you're too awesome. You're an all-rounder. Han Xiaopo said excitedly. It seems like there's nothing you can't do. This is great. Our hidden house of Han is going to be awesome. Those hidden houses can go to hell. Don't be too happy yet. You're already an Earth-class master. Tomorrow. It should be today. Choose a martial art to cultivate. Since your hidden house of Han found the ancient ruins, there must be a lot of martial arts. Lin Yi said. It was already the morning of the second day. Both of them were practitioners, so they weren't sleepy. Although Han Xiaopo didn't have the jade cultivation space to replenish his energy, he had just broken through, so he was full of energy. Then let's go now? Boss, you can give me some advice on what martial arts I should learn, Han Xiaopo said. I'll go find Grandpa now and ask him to bring us to the treasure vault. That's good. I'd like to see your collection of martial arts. Lin Yi didn't hide his intentions. All right, if there's something suitable for you, boss, you can make a copy. Han Xiaopo didn't mind at all, as if it was supposed to be for Lin Yi to see. As they spoke, they walked out of the room and headed towards Elder Han's residence. Today was destined to be a sleepless night. Although Elder Han had returned to his room, he didn't sleep. Instead, he closed his eyes and fantasized about how the hidden house of Han would amaze everyone during the Hidden House Summit. They would make those who coveted the hidden house look at them in a different light and regret their decision. Xiaopo, the hope of the Han family rests on your shoulders. Han Tianba took a deep breath and sighed. I hope your judgment is accurate. Lin Yi will not disappoint us. Dang dang dang. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Han Tianba was slightly stunned. Who would come to visit at this time? It was the wee hours of the morning, so theoretically, no one should have come. However, Han Tianba did not dare to neglect it. He got up and went to the door asking, "Who is it?" "Grandpa, it's me, Xiaopa and boss," Han Xiaopa said. Hearing that it was Han Xiaopa and Lin Yi, Han Tianba hurriedly opened the door and said, "Mr. Lin Xiaopa, why are you looking for me at this time?" "Grandpa, what do you think of my current strength?" Han Xiaopa was a young man after all. When he saw Han Tianba, he was a little impatient. Han Tianba was not Lin Yi. He did not have the golden finger that could tell someone's strength at a glance, so he was slightly stunned. He could not see anything special about Han Xiaopa. "Xiaopa, what is your current strength?" "Grandpa, please take a look." Han Xiaopa chuckled and began to circulate his inner force. Although Han Tianba was prepared for Han Xiaopa to activate his inner force as soon as he saw Han Xiaopa, he knew that Han Xiaopa's strength would increase. After all, as long as one was a cultivator, their strength would increase regardless of their aptitude. But how much could one improve in one night? It was only because of the pill, so Han Tianba did not pay much attention to it. With Lin Yi beside him, he could not say much. He only smiled at Han Xiaopa. But when Han Xiaopa started to circulate his inner force, Han Tianba's expression changed from indifference to shock. He looked at his grandson in disbelief. Yes, unbelievable. Han Tianba thought that he was still in a dream. Early Earth class. Han Xiaopa's strength was actually early Earth class. Han Tianba did not think that Han Xiaopa could become an Earth class master overnight. Not to mention a small qi gathering pill. Even if there were 10, it was hard to say whether or not Han Xiaopa could become an early Earth class. How big of a leap was this? But Xiaopa, you're early Earth class. Han Tianba was the head of the house after all. He quickly realized that he was not dreaming. The truth was right in front of him. He could clearly feel Han Xiaopa's strength. "Yes, Grandpa." Han Xiaopa nodded proudly. "This is all thanks to boss." "This, Mr. Lin, I did not expect you to be so powerful." "This old man, thank you." Han Tianba was pleasantly surprised. He bowed to Lin Yi. The Han family had one more Earth class master. This was the best thing in the world. Especially before the Hidden House Summit. This was something to be excited about. "It's nothing. I am an alchemist," Lin Yi said calmly. "The things that Elder Han gave me are more than enough to make up for the value of these pills." Lin Yi was misleading Han Tianba on purpose, making him think that he had given Han Xiaopa a lot of elixirs to increase his strength, and that the little qi gathering pill was the final nail in the coffin. "How is it, Grandpa? Boss is amazing, right?" Han Xiaopa said proudly. "Amazing." Old man Han laughed heartily. "If that's the case, then we should have a chance of winning the duel." Although the Hidden Han family gave Lin Yi a lot of things, adding them up was more than the pills that could increase Han Xiaopa's strength from Golden Class mid-phase to Mystic Class late-phase peak. There was a saying that there was no market for it. Although the pills were not as valuable as the colored steel and the qi gathering pill, you couldn't buy them. Whether it was the Sky Elixir sect, the Hidden House of You, or the hidden houses and ancient sects with alchemists, none of them would sell the Hidden Han family pills to you. They wouldn't even sell the most common spirit gathering pill to you. No matter how much money you had, it was useless. People were trying to stop the Hidden Han family's development. These pills that could increase one's strength were naturally not something that could be exchanged for money. The materials for the colored steel and the qi gathering pill were precious, but to be honest, they were useless to the Hidden Han family. It would be a disaster if people found out about it. They might as well give them to Lin Yi. If the Hidden Han family was done for, then they wouldn't be able to keep anything good. Chapter 2074. That's great. Han Tianba nodded excitedly. By the way, Xiaopa, why are you looking for me now? Is there anything important? Grandpa, boss asked me to choose a martial technique. Han Xiaopa said. Grandpa, please bring us to the library. Alright, we'll go now. Mr. Lin can give you some advice on what kind of martial technique is best. Han Tianba nodded. Han Tianba didn't mind letting Lin Yi have a look at the good stuff in the treasury. He could tell that Lin Yi wasn't a greedy person. Other than the colored steel, which Lin Yi wanted, Lin Yi didn't ask for anything else. The only materials for the qi gathering pill were given to him by the Hidden House Han. Lin Yi, naturally, was interested in the Hidden House Han's treasury. It wasn't the treasures, but the manuals. The Hidden House Han had found an ancient ruin, and there might be some special manuals in there. For example, Feng Nitian, Zhang Naipeo. It seemed that every ancient sect had an extremely powerful practitioner's arts in their ruins. Linny wanted to see if the Hidden House Han had something like that as well. The three of them arrived at the treasury together. There were 2 doors here. One was where the treasures were stored, and the other was naturally the scripture pavilion. This place stored the original copies of the mental cultivation techniques and martial techniques that the Han clan had discovered in the ancient ruins. Mr. Lin, this is the treasury, and that's the scripture library. Where should we go first? Han Tianba asked. Let's go straight to the scripture library. Linny didn't need any other treasures, but he was looking forward to the scripture library. All right. Han Tianba nodded approvingly. It seemed that his guess was right. Linny wasn't a greedy person. He wouldn't ask for an endless amount of things. He took out the key, passed the password and fingerprint verification, and opened the scripture library. However, upon entering, Linny was very disappointed. In Linny's mind, the scripture library was at least like a bookstore. There were many bookshelves filled with all sorts of practitioners' arts and martial techniques. What he saw now was a stone table with a few boxes on it. There were less than 10 of them. This is the scripture library? Linny looked at the room in shock, speechless. Mr. Lin, this is the Hidden House of Han Scripture Depository. It is simple and crude, and there are very few secret manuals. Our Hidden House of Han's resources are too scarce. Han Tianba smiled bitterly. These are the secret manuals of an entire sect. They are all here. A sect only has these few manuals? Linny was shocked. The real big sects are very strict when it comes to accepting disciples. If you don't have the right physique and aptitude, you won't be able to enter these ancient sects to train. Moreover, these ancient sects don't have many cultivation methods and martial skills, so it's normal. Han Tianba explained. Oh, Lin Yi, on the other hand, nodded as he thought about the ice palace. Everyone practiced an ice practitioner's arts, and their techniques were probably similar as well. Inner disciples weren't randomly accepted, either, so it was probably similar to the sects from the ancient ruins. However, Linny was a little confused. Do the other hidden houses have so little cultivation materials? Not really. Han Tianba shook his head. Our hidden Han family's cultivation methods and martial techniques all come from the ancient ruins. The other hidden houses, on the other hand, get most of them from trading or buying. Some of them are copied from the ancient sects and ancient families that they're on good terms with. These hidden houses have much more history and resources than us. I see. Linny nodded. It must have been hard on you guys to be able to train so well with just these few arts and techniques. Although there's the effect of the medicine, it's all thanks to your hard work. Maybe the heavens are blessing us to hide our Han family's bloodline and physique. It's perfect for us to cultivate the Heart Sutra in the ancient ruins. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do anything with these treasures. Han Tianba said. Moreover, how many Heart Sutras do we have? There's only one. Among these books, there's only one cultivation method. The rest are all martial techniques. Han Tianba's answer impressed Lin even more. Only one cultivation method, and these people were still able to train in it. It was enough to show how lucky the hidden Han family was. If I'm not wrong, Xiaopo's cultivation method should be of the wood element, right? Linny said. Yes, it is of the wood element. Han Tianba nodded. What martial technique does Elder Han train in? Linny asked. I'm ashamed, this old man trains in a very common wood element martial technique called firewood chopping art. Han Tianba said. This is the simplest of all the martial techniques, but even so this old man can only use the first 2 forms. I can't use the rest. Oh. Linny was startled. Han Tianba was a mid-earth class master, the same as the black-clothed man who attacked Su Shihan. In theory, Han Tianba could use at least 3 forms, and the black-clothed man could use the 4th form. There's no one to guide me. This old man has to rely on himself. Plus, I'm not very talented, so. Han Tianba said with some shame. Linny nodded. Linny knew this feeling very well. If it wasn't for the support martial technique and Faubert's guidance, his raging fire fist wouldn't have had much success, let alone fighting against the black-clothed man. Let me see these martial techniques. Linny walked over and looked at the names of the martial techniques on the wooden boxes. This is the martial technique we train in, called Wood Spirit Technique. Han Tianba pointed to the wooden box on the side and said, and from this second box onwards are the martial techniques. According to the strength of the martial techniques, they are arranged from left to right. This second box is the weakest, and it's also the one I train in firewood chopping art. At this point, Han Tianba sighed in shame. Even without the guidance of a master, he can still train in martial techniques. Elder Han, there's no need to belittle yourself. Linny said with a wave of his hand. Haha, Mr. Lin is too kind. Han Tianba said. According to Mr. Lin, which martial technique should Han Xiaopa train in? Chapter 2075. Translator, Mr. Voltaire Editor. Modlols 123 Lin, he practiced the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. Could he also practice other skills besides the frenzy fist? Would he be a genius like the frenzy fire fist? Linny was looking forward to it. Since it was an all-purpose skill, learning other skills should be a piece of cake. If Linny could practice it himself, he could personally teach Han Xiaopa, so he wouldn't have to take the wrong path. Of course, if Linny couldn't practice this skill, then he probably couldn't practice the lowest level, chopping firewood. After all, this was a wood-based skill, and Linny had practiced a fire-based skill before. Although Linny didn't know what type of skill the art of dragon mastery belonged to, if he could practice a fire-based skill, then it should be a fire-based skill. However, he couldn't rule out the possibility of accidents. After all, the art of dragon mastery was known as an all-purpose skill. It couldn't be measured by common sense. This last one isn't a skill. Han Tianba smiled bitterly when he saw Lin Yi pointing at the last box. Not a skill? Then what is it? Lin Yi was taken aback. This is a book related to blacksmithing. Han Tianba said. However, I heard that blacksmithing was a profession from the ancient times. It's extinct now. Blacksmithing? Lin Yi's eyes twitched. This hidden Han family really had a lot of good stuff. They even had a book on blacksmithing? That's right. This is also the most precious book that we've found in the ancient remnant. However, with this old man's aptitude, I'm still unable to understand it. Furthermore, I don't possess the physique and abilities mentioned in the book. Can I have a look? Linny asked, tempted. Of course. Mr. Lin, you can read any of the books here. Han Tianba said without hesitation. However, I'm afraid that the blacksmith's book won't be of much use. It is said that one must cultivate two elements at the same time. Only those who cultivate two elements at the same time can learn it. Oh. Linny slowly opened the last wooden box. A thread-bound ancient book came into view. On the cover, the words Incomplete Scroll of the Art of Mending were written. Linny carefully took out the ancient book and flipped through it. Sure enough, there was an introduction to this ancient book at the beginning of the scroll. This was indeed a book related to blacksmiths, but it wasn't meant for blacksmiths to use. According to the introduction, blacksmiths had to cultivate metal, wood, and fire at the same time in order to become blacksmiths. The profession introduced in this book was not blacksmithing, but rather it had the same origin as blacksmithing. It was called tool mender. As long as a tool mender cultivated both metal wood and metal mental cultivation methods at the same time, it would be enough. The so-called mending master was someone who couldn't forge their own divine weapons, but they could repair damaged divine weapons. For example, a third-grade cauldron damaged during alchemy, an ancient weapon damaged during a war, and so on. They could all be repaired using the method taught in this book. Of course, tool menders were the same as alchemists. They were also divided into first grade, second grade, third grade, and even higher. However, the reason why this incomplete scroll of the art of mending was called an incomplete scroll was because it only mentioned the repair methods of first grade to third grade magical weapons. As for third grade magical weapons and above, it didn't mention anything. It was not that there was no such method. It was just that this book didn't mention it. Similar to alchemists, tool menders also consumed a lot of true qi and physical strength. Moreover, it was very difficult to cultivate two mental cultivation methods at the same time. Let's not talk about whether or not one could successfully cultivate it. Even if one succeeded, it might not be possible to cultivate both mental cultivation methods to a certain level. Moreover, even if one cultivated to a certain level, there was still the risk of going berserk. Therefore, even in ancient times, the status of tool mender and tool mender was very respected. They were both positions that could only be held by geniuses. If he couldn't practice alchemy, could he be a tool mender? Linny was somewhat interested in the incomplete scroll of the art of mending. However, Linny had never seen any magical weapons. He hadn't even seen a third-grade medicinal cauldron. Would it be a waste of time to learn the art of mending? In any case, since Linny saw it and was interested, he wouldn't let it go easily. So he said, "Elder Han, I wonder if I can make a copy?" "Haha, of course, no problem," Han Tianba said. "You can make a copy and keep the copy. You can even take the original." "That's not necessary." No matter how thick-skinned Linny was, he wouldn't steal the original. Besides, there was no difference between the original and the copy. However, he wasn't in a hurry to make a copy. The most important thing now was to help Han Xiaopa choose a set of martial arts. So Linny pointed to the second-last box and said, "Since that's related to tool casting, how about this one?" "This." Han Tianba's face was slightly awkward, but he still said, "This? I'm afraid not. This one also won't work?" Linny was stunned. "Is this not a martial arts skill, but something else?" "This is a martial arts skill, but it's not a normal martial arts skill." Han Tianba nodded. He had seen everything in the library once, so he understood every single one of them. "Not a normal martial arts skill?" Linny asked curiously. "What do you mean by not normal?" "Although this is the highest level martial arts skill in the ancient ruins, it's a support-type martial arts skill," Han Tianba said. "A support-type martial arts skill?" Linny suddenly thought of the omnipotent martial arts skill that went with the art of dragon mastery. Was it a support-type martial arts skill? Could it be that the hidden Han family had something similar? Yes, according to this old man's research, this is a replenishment-type martial arts skill. It can replenish energy and true qi for the people around you, but it completely consumes the user's strength and true qi. It can be said to be a martial arts skill that burns oneself to illuminate others. Han Tianba said, "Although this martial arts skill can play a big role in a critical moment, it is useless during normal battles. Who would have nothing better to do to cultivate a martial arts skill that sacrifices themselves to help others? Unless it's a big ancient sect that trained a group of disciples who specialized in sacrificing their true qi to help their teammates when fighting against other sects." Chapter 2076. Recover? They've been cultivating for decades just for one burst of power. It's going to take a long time for them to recover. Han Tianba smiled bitterly. Moreover, these disciples are getting old. It's hard to say whether they'll be able to cultivate as fast as they used to. To put it bluntly, many disciples who used this technique died on the spot, due to overexertion of their physical strength. Linny sighed. This was a strange skill, but if it were a big sect, they'd raise a group of loyal loyalists to the sect. These people could be used in critical moments against other core disciples, when their own side was exhausted. They'd be able to turn defeat into victory at the cost of their own lives. However, Linny was wondering if he could use the energy in the jade space to replenish his energy after the battle. "Elder Han, I'd like to make a copy of this technique," Linny said. "Oh, Mr. Lin is interested in such a useless technique?" Han Tianba was taken aback, but he did not object. "If Mr. Lin is willing to study it, feel free to make a copy. But as for cultivating it, forget it. I don't think this technique has much use." I'm just studying it," Linny said. "That's good. I'll make a copy for Mr. Lin later, as well as the incomplete scroll on the way of artifact mending," Han Tianba said. "Thank you very much." Linny nodded. "The third last box should be a normal technique, right?" "Of course it is." Han Tianba nodded. "This technique is also the most powerful one out of all of them. It's called 1,000 Transformations of the Forest of Wood. 1,000 Transformations of the Forest of Wood." Linny heard the name of the technique and was confused. What kind of technique is this? Forest of wood. Literally, it means more and more. Han Tianba said. The higher the level of this technique, the more powerful it becomes. But the first few techniques are just the basics. Oh, what do you mean? Linny asked. The first form of the 1,000 transformations of the woods only increases the power of the fist, but the second form can transform one fist into two fists, one real and one fake, making it difficult for the opponent to distinguish which fist is the real one. The same goes for the third form, which can transform into 3 fists, all the way to the 10th form, which can transform into 10 fists. From the 11th form onwards, it's not just the fist, but the entire person. One person can turn into 2 people. The 12th form can turn into 2 people, and so on. Han Tianba explained. This martial skill is quite powerful. Linny nodded. Based on the name, this martial skill might be slightly weaker in terms of power. However, after learning it, it could be used to launch a surprise attack on the enemy, achieving the goal of a sneak attack. Yes, but although it's powerful, it's extremely difficult to practice. After looking at it once, this old man can't understand it. Han Tianba said. Xiaopa, I'm afraid it'll be a bit difficult for you to practice this martial skill, right? Yes, boss, with my aptitude, this martial skill. Without someone to guide me. I don't think I'll be able to learn it in my lifetime. Han Xiaopa knew his own limits, so he didn't try to be arrogant. This martial skill 1,000 transformations of the woods and the firewood chopping skill. Make a copy of both and try to practice them. Linny said. Whichever one can practice it, we'll practice it. Okay. Han Xiaopa nodded. We'll listen to boss. The 3 of them didn't hesitate. Each of them took a pen, ink, paper, and inkstone and began to make copies. The 4 secret manuals were quickly copied. After keeping the 2 that Linny wanted, he took the other 2 and returned to Lin Yi's residence with Han Xiaopa. You should study this firewood chopping skill first. Since Elder Han has practiced it, he should have practiced it in front of the younger generation, right? Lin Yi asked. Yes, every year during the new year, Grandpa would show it to us to motivate us to practice harder. Han Xiaopa nodded. Okay, you try to practice it first. I'll study this 1,000 transformations of the woods. Lin Yi said. Yes, boss. Han Xiaopa didn't even think that he would be able to activate the martial arts technique on this one day. After all, after his grandfather entered the earth rank, it took him almost 2 years to activate the first style of the firewood cutting skill. After making arrangements for Han Xiaopa, Lin Yi picked up the mantra of the 1,000 transformations of the woods and studied it. After reading it a few times, Lin Yi understood the meaning of the words. Now it was time to see if he could use it. He walked out of the room and came to the courtyard. In the hidden Han manor, the guest room also had its own courtyard. It was convenient for Lin Yi to use it. In his mind, he silently recited the mantra of the first move of the 1,000 transformations of the woods. Lin Yi began to use the first move according to the mantra. Ha! Lin Yi punched out, almost in one breath, without the slightest bit of hesitation or jerkiness. Boom! Lin Yi's fist smashed into the wall of the courtyard, and the wall collapsed. The power of the first move surprised Lin Yi. It was not inferior to the frenzy fist. Was it because he was familiar with it, or because this martial skill was originally a superior martial skill? Of course, what made Lin Yi even more excited was that his previous guess was confirmed. The martial skill he found in the cave was indeed the same as the art of dragon mastery. It was an all-purpose martial skill. In other words, as long as he cultivated the all-purpose martial skill, he could cultivate any other martial skill to the fullest. The wood attribute martial skill was as smooth as the fire attribute martial skill. It was as if he had used it thousands of times. The loud sound of the wall collapsing was naturally heard by Han Xiaopa. He quickly ran out of the room and asked in surprise, "Boss, what happened?" "Nothing. The power of the 1,000 transformations of the woods is not small," Lin Yi said. "Originally, I thought this martial skill was only used to confuse people, but I didn't expect it to be so." "Oh." Han Xiaopa's eyes widened in surprise. "Boss, you've already activated it." "Only the first move," Lin Yi said. "The first move? In such a short time?" You can activate the first move. Boss, you're really a genius. Han Xiaopa was full of admiration. What was a genius? Lin Yi was a genius. Chapter 2077. Genius. Lin Yi didn't deny it. He thought to himself, you haven't seen the real genius. He lives right next to me. Yes, he's a genius. Han Xiaopa nodded and said excitedly, Boss, are you also a wood element cultivator? Lin Yi smiled and didn't answer. Lin Yi didn't know what element he was cultivating because the first 2 levels of the art of dragon mastery didn't mention which element it belonged to. However, Jiao Yazi did mention that it was a universal technique. Could it be a universal element? Boss, can I cultivate the 1,000 transformations of wood forest? Han Xiaopa asked expectantly. It shouldn't be a big problem. Lin Yi said, I'll study it a bit more. Okay. Boss, study it. Han Xiaopa said. Lin Yi nodded and began to recall the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th forms of the technique in his mind. He also simulated the moves and activation method of the technique in his mind. After familiarizing himself with it, Lin Yi tried again. 1,000 transformations of wood forest, 2nd form. Lin Yi punched out, but the fist seemed to split into 2. Lin Yi's target this time was another wall. Boom. Boom. This time, there were 2 loud noises from the wall. Another wall collapsed. This time, however, the power of the punch was much stronger than before. What surprised Lin Yi even more was that the 2nd form wasn't like what Han Tianba had said, where one punch was real and the other was fake to confuse the opponent. There were 2 punches and both were real. The 2 loud noises were the evidence. The area of the collapsed wall was much wider than before. In other words, the 2 punches were real, but Lin Yi only punched out once. Thinking of this, Lin Yi excitedly began to ponder over the 3rd style. Han Xiaopa, on the other hand, was staring at the collapsed wall not far from Lin Yi with a petrified expression. It wasn't that he felt sorry for the wall. If it were him, he would rather tear down the entire courtyard, as long as he could land 2 punches like Lin Yi. The 3rd style. Lin Yi once again successfully activated the 3rd style of the wood forest 1,000 transformations. Boom. 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 This time, there were 3 loud bangs, and the other wall of the courtyard was also turned into ruins. At this point, other than the front gate of the courtyard, the walls on the left, back, and right were all destroyed by Lin Yi. Furthermore, the destructive power of each attack was greater than the previous one. The loud bangs in the courtyard had already attracted the attention of the other people hidden in the Han family. However, these people knew that this was Lin Yi's residence, so they didn't dare to go forward and investigate. They only quickly notified Grandfather Han. With Grandfather Han's status, he could come over to see what was going on out of curiosity. However, when he approached the courtyard, Lin Yi just happened to activate the 4th style of the wood forest 1,000 transformations. Boom. 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 4 loud bangs sounded, but this time Lin Yi didn't hit his target, and all 4 punches hit air. Even so, it was still 4 loud bangs that tore through the air. As for the 5th style, Lin Yi didn't try to practice it. Lin Yi hadn't even practiced the 5th style of the frenzied fire fist. Studying the wood forest 1,000 transformations didn't have much of a chance of success. Moreover, Lin Yi mainly wanted to study it on his own before teaching it to Han Xiaopa. Han Tianba looked at Lin Yi, who was not far away, with a face full of shock. What kind of technique was this? With Han Tianba's eyesight, he could naturally see that this wasn't the firewood chopping skill. Since it wasn't, could it be the wood forest 1,000 transformations? However, in such a short period of time, how could Lin Yi learn the wood forest 1,000 transformations? Moreover, this was a wood-based martial art. Was Lin Yi a wood-based cultivator? With a stomach full of questions, Han Tianba didn't want to disturb Lin Yi. This was because he saw Lin Yi's body move again. The wood forest 1,000 transformations 1st style, 2nd style, 3rd style, 4th style. Boom. Boom boom. Boom boom boom. Boom 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 boom. His movements were as smooth as flowing water. It was only 4 punches, but they brought with them a power that could only be achieved by 10 punches. This martial art was not ordinary. Phew. Lin Yi took a deep breath. This martial art was not ordinary. Although it looked like 4 punches, the amount of stamina consumed was not an ordinary amount. After practicing it twice, Lin Yi's stamina was already showing signs of drying up. He was so tired that he was sweating profusely. He couldn't muster up any more strength. Of course, although activating martial skills also consumed physical strength, the consumption in this situation was different from the consumption of true energy in alchemy. This kind of consumption could be replenished through rest, unlike the pure energy consumption of alchemy. With Lin Yi's stamina, he was already exhausted after using the Wood Forest Thousand Transformations twice. If it were a normal person, they would probably only be able to use it once. But then again, for a peak early Earth class expert, it was already not bad to be able to use 2 styles. Without the 3rd and 4th style, it wouldn't consume such a terrifying amount of stamina. "Boss, how are you?" Han Xiaopa saw that Lin Yi's face was a little pale, so he quickly asked. "It's nothing, just a little tired." Lin Yi waved his hand. This kind of stamina consumption could be replenished in the jade space for a while. "That's good." Han Xiaopa breathed a sigh of relief. He was most afraid that something would happen to Lin Yi. If something happened to Lin Yi, then what would happen to the Hidden House Summit tomorrow? "I'll rest for a while." Lin Yi didn't say anything else. He sat on the stone bench in the courtyard, closed his eyes, and entered the jade space to recover his stamina. Han Tianba, who was watching from afar, saw that Lin Yi had sat down to rest, so he carefully walked over. "Grandpa." Han Xiaopa was originally sitting on the stone bench with Lin Yi. When he saw that Han Tianba had arrived, he quickly stood up to greet him. "Xiaopa, Mr. Lin." Han Tianba carefully looked at Lin Yi. "Boss is tired, he's resting for a while," Han Xiaopa said. "That's good." Han Tianba nodded, feeling relieved. Just now the martial art that Mr. Lin used, was it the Wood Forest Thousand Transformations? It should be. Boss has been studying that martial art all this time. Han Xiaopa nodded. Chapter 2078. That's right. I just don't know if I can cultivate this technique with my aptitude. Han Xiaopa said worriedly. Although Lin Yi was recovering his energy in the jade pendant space, he could still see everything that was happening outside. Lin Yi had completely mastered the forest with 1,000 transformations. Whether it was the technique or the way to activate it, he was already very familiar with it. Therefore, it was not difficult for him to give Han Xiaopa some pointers. However, Faubert had also said that the same technique would have different effects when used by different people. Moreover, the difference in aptitude and mental cultivation method would also result in differences. Therefore, even if it was a top-notch martial skill, if it was given to a person with poor aptitude to cultivate, it would not be able to produce too much power. It should not be a problem if you can cultivate it. However, to what extent you can cultivate it depends on your own luck. Lin Yi opened his eyes and said faintly, "I've understood this technique completely. I'll teach you the first 2 forms now, but whether or not you'll be able to activate them within a day, that's hard to say." "I will definitely try my best." Han Xiaopa's eyes lit up. "Good. First, familiarize yourself with the mental cultivation method of the first form. If there is anything you don't understand, ask me. I will explain it to you. If there are no questions, you can watch me use it." Lin Yi handed the copy of the forest with 1,000 transformations to Han Xiaopa. "Mr. Lin, can this old man sit in and listen in?" Han Tianba asked after some hesitation. Of course you can. Please go ahead, Elder Han." Lin Yi didn't mind this at all. This technique belonged to the Hidden House Han in the first place, and Lin Yi had stolen it. It wouldn't be right if he didn't let them learn it. "Thank you, Mr. Lin." Han Tianba was overjoyed. If he could learn the forest with 1,000 transformations, then his previous chopping skills would be rubbish. Lin Yi smiled faintly and didn't say anything. Han Tianba and Han Xiaopa looked at the incantation for the forest of 1,000 transformations. After memorizing the incantation for the first form, Han Xiaopa asked some questions. Lin Yi answered them one by one. Han Tianba had studied the incantation for the forest of 1,000 transformations before, but he hadn't been able to successfully activate it. "Well, since there are no more questions, I'll start activating the martial arts skill. Watch carefully," Lin Yi said, and then he began to circulate the mantra, activating the first move, Forest of Woods 1,000 Changes. Boom! Han Xiaopa and Han Tianba were shocked by the power of the punch. The wind brought about by the punch almost sent Han Xiaopa tumbling. Strong, really too strong, Han Xiaopa said sincerely. Although he was a cultivator in the past and knew that cultivators were much stronger than ordinary people, in front of Lin Yi's martial arts skill, cultivators in the past were nothing. I see. Han Tianba's face showed a look of realization. Previously, he didn't have a master to guide him, so although he understood the incantation for the Forest of Wood's 1,000 transformations, he couldn't successfully activate it. It wasn't until he saw Lin Yi activate it that he understood some of the principles behind it. I'll slowly demonstrate the first move again. Watch carefully. Lin Yi knew that these two weren't geniuses. They wouldn't be able to learn anything after one demonstration, so he deliberately slowed down his movements and demonstrated the first move of the Forest of Wood's 1,000 transformations again. Although the power of the move was much weaker this time, after all, the momentum couldn't rush up. Even so, Han Xiaopa and Han Tianba admired it. Let me try. Han Xiaopa understood the technique that Lin Yi demonstrated and became a little impatient. Okay, ask me again if you don't understand it. Lin Yi nodded. After Han Xiaopa said that, he jumped into the field eagerly and began to activate the martial arts according to the incantation for the first move. Of course, although he understood the incantation and clearly saw how Lin Yi activated the martial arts, he couldn't do it himself. Han Xiaopa activated the martial arts for a long time but didn't succeed. He suddenly felt a little embarrassed. Boss, I'm really useless. It's been so long and I haven't even used a single move. It's okay. Your routine is correct, but it lacks a sense of fluidity. Circulate the incantation more smoothly, and try to do it in one go without any pauses in the middle. That should be enough. Lin Yi said. At least you didn't take a detour in the process of activating the martial arts. You just checked the proficiency level a little. Well, I'll practice again. Han Xiaopa heard Lin Yi say this and immediately felt relieved. He was happy. Mr. Lin, this old man's hands are itching. I also want to practice activating the martial arts. Can Mr. Lin give me some pointers? Han Tianba asked. Of course, that's not a problem. Elder Han, please. Lin Yi also understood Han Tianba's feelings. He had studied the Forest of Wood's 1,000 transformations many times before, but he didn't succeed. Now that he had a master like Lin Yi, if he didn't seize the opportunity, he would be a fool. Okay, I hope Mr. Lin will not be stingy with your guidance. Don't laugh at me. Han Tianba nodded and began to circulate his inner force, preparing to practice activating the martial arts. In comparison, Han Tianba's movements were much more proficient than Han Xiaopa's. In the past, Han Tianba must have studied this martial arts technique many times, but he couldn't understand it. Now that he had Lin Yi's guidance and demonstration, Han Tianba suddenly understood a lot of things that he didn't understand before. He compared it with the movements he had studied before in his heart. This time, he succeeded in activating the first form of the Forest of Wood's 1,000 transformations. It wasn't even as powerful as the first form of Han Tianba's firewood chopping art. However, Han Tianba was happy that he was able to do it on his first try. Lin Yi's attack wasn't as powerful as Han Tianba's first form, but Han Tianba was happy that he was able to do it on his first try. Although he wasn't familiar with it, at least he didn't embarrass himself too much. Otherwise, his grandson wouldn't be able to do it, and his grandfather wouldn't be able to do it. If Lin Yi became impatient and didn't want to teach him anymore, it would be too late to cry. At least he had successfully practiced activating the martial arts. Regardless of whether it was too rough or not, it was still better than not being able to activate it. Chapter 2079. As long as he could successfully activate it the first time, he would be able to get used to it in the future. Although he might not be able to reach the pinnacle, it would at least be much more powerful than it was now. You flatter me, Mr. Lin. This old man's martial arts are a joke to you. Although Han Tianba was very pleased with himself, he still remembered Lin Yi's talent. He had just received a martial art, and he could already activate it, and he could even teach others. That was the difference between them. However, Han Tianba never thought that he could catch up to Lin Yi. How could they even compare? Lin Yi could instantly kill an Earth-class late-phase master. Even if he was at the peak of Earth-class late-phase, he might not be able to instantly kill an Earth-class late-phase master. It's not a joke. Elder Han must have studied this martial art before. That's why you were able to activate it the first time. Xiaopa hasn't studied it before, so he isn't very familiar with it. Lin Yi saw through it with one look. That's right. This old man has studied it many times. But without Mr. Lin's guidance, I'm afraid I would have to go through a lot of detours. I don't know how long it would take for me to successfully activate it. Han Tianba spoke honestly. But Elder Han, pay attention to this. This is the moment when you activate the martial art. Lin Yi said, pointing out some of the small flaws in Han Tianba's martial art. Han Tianba thought about it carefully and compared it. He immediately knew that Lin Yi was pointing out his flaws. If he could correct them, then he wouldn't be far from being able to activate the martial art. He immediately said gratefully, Mr. Lin, you really are the savior of our house. That's right, Grandpa. I'm afraid those hidden families that are plotting against our hidden house of Han still don't know yet. They're going to end up empty-handed. We already have boss as our trump card. Han Xiaopa added. Yeah, think about their expressions tomorrow, hee. Han Tianba was looking forward to it. None of the hidden families would have thought that the hidden Han family would be able to invite outside help. And that outside help was Lin Yi. The day passed quickly, and under Lin Yi's guidance, Han Xiaopa was able to use the first form of the Forest of Wood's 1,000 transformations. It was just that the power was a lot weaker than Han Tianba's, but it didn't change the fact that he was able to use it. With Lin Yi's guidance, Han Tianba and Han Xiaopa's progress was lightning fast. They were still immersed in practicing martial arts until late at night. The first martial arts technique did not consume much stamina. The higher the level of a martial arts technique, the more stamina it consumed. This was especially true for martial arts techniques that were of a higher level. Therefore, although Han Tianba and Han Xiaopa were exhausted after practicing for a whole day, they did not feel exhausted like Lin Yi. Moreover, the power of the two's techniques was not that great, so it did not seem to consume much stamina. However, Lin Yi realized that the most stamina consumption was to cast the martial arts technique to its fullest potential. It's already 9 o'clock at night. We haven't eaten yet. Han Xiaopa put away his martial arts technique and sat on the stone bench to rest. He looked at the time and realized that it was already so late. He immediately apologized. Boss, we were too engrossed and forgot about the time. We're all cultivators. It's not a big deal to skip a meal. Lin Yi waved his hand nonchalantly. You still have to eat. I'll send someone to prepare a banquet. Han Tianba was also very embarrassed. Let's eat dinner as soon as possible. There's no need to go through so much trouble. Lin Yi waved his hand and said, I'm tired too. Let's rest early today. Let's just have some noodles. We can skip the banquet. All right, then we'll listen to Mr. Lin. Han Tianba nodded and quickly walked out of the room. He personally went to inform the kitchen to prepare the noodles. After they were done, he personally brought them over and prepared to eat with Lin Yi. Although it was only 3 bowls of egg noodles and a few delicate side dishes, it was still cooked very well. The hidden Han family's chef must be someone amazing. After eating a bowl of noodles, Lin Yi went to rest. Tomorrow was the Hidden House Summit. Lin Yi planned to rest well and strive to win tomorrow's competition. After all, the Hidden House's wager would definitely be something good. It would be a waste not to take something like this. Naturally, it would be good if he could get more of it. Mr. Lin, the courtyard of this guest house has been destroyed. Do you want to change to another room when you rest tonight? Han Tianba asked carefully. There's no need to change. It doesn't matter. Lin Yi waved his hand and said, I'm the one who destroyed the walls of this courtyard. I'm really sorry. Mr. Lin, you're too courteous. For the sake of our hidden house Han's martial arts, I'm willing to tear down the house, let alone the courtyard. Han Tianba smiled. These are all worldly possessions. We'll just let the disciples rebuild it later. The most important thing is to master the martial arts. That's the most important thing. The night passed without a word. The next day was the day of the Hidden House Summit. Han Xiaopa was waiting in front of Lin Yi's room early in the morning. Han Xiaopa was an earth class, so he didn't need much sleep. A few hours was enough for him to fully recover. He waited in front of Lin Yi's room because he was afraid that Lin Yi wouldn't be able to find him when he woke up. Lin Yi had been training in the Jade Space the whole time. Although training here wasn't as fast as training with Xinyan, Lin Yi didn't waste a second. He used all the time he had to train. Xiaopa, come in and have a seat. When are we leaving? Lin Yi felt Han Xiaopa's presence and said, "Ah, boss, you're awake?" Han Xiaopa heard Lin Yi's voice and walked in. "I'm training," Lin Yi said faintly. "It seems like boss's success wasn't a coincidence. You've been training so early in the morning." Han Xiaopa said with admiration, "We'll leave around 7 and go straight to Donghai's hidden house Zhao. This time, the host house is Donghai's hidden house Zhao." "Okay, just call me when you see me," Lin Yi said with his eyes closed. In the blink of an eye, it was 7 in the morning. Han Tianba had also arrived. Lin Yi felt Han Tianba's presence and returned to reality from his training state. He stood up and said, "Xiaopa, your grandfather is here. Let's go." "Ah, my grandfather is already here?" Han Xiaopa was surprised. He didn't feel his grandfather's presence, but Lin Yi could feel his grandfather's presence. How miraculous. Chapter 2080. Lin Yi nodded and walked out with a smile. "Elder Han, are we leaving now?" "Mr. Lin, you've noticed me?" Han Tianba was surprised. He was afraid of disturbing Lin Yi, so he had been walking very carefully. He was an Earth-class mid-phase master, and even though he had just broken through, he was still an Earth-class mid-phase master. How could Lin Yi still sense him? "Haha, I have too many enemies. I've developed the habit of being on guard." Lin Yi laughed. Han Tianba nodded. He had a question in his mind, but he didn't ask it. He had wanted to ask it since yesterday, and now that Lin Yi had sensed his presence, he wanted to ask even more. "Elder Han, do you have something you want to ask me?" Lin Yi saw the confusion on Elder Han's face. "Yes, Mr. Lin, if I may be so bold as to ask, how strong are you?" Han Tianba asked carefully. "Strength? Can't you tell?" Lin Yi asked with a smile. "I'm blind. Mr. Lin, are you an Earth-class early phase master?" Han Tianba asked. He had seen Lin Yi's martial arts yesterday, and he could feel that Lin Yi was an Earth-class early phase master. But could Lin Yi really be an Earth-class early phase master? "Haha, you can tell. Why ask?" Lin Yi laughed. "But I heard that Mr. Lin can kill 3 Earth-class masters in one move, and one of them was a late phase master?" Han Tianba asked doubtfully. "With a trump card, of course I can fight someone stronger than me." Lin Yi didn't explain in detail. "I see." Han Tianba nodded, and didn't ask any more questions. With the addition of Lin Yi to the hidden Han family, there was no need for other disciples to make a move. Only Han Tianba, Han Xiaopa, and Lin Yi quietly rode the Mercedes-Benz S600 to the hidden Zhao family. Lin Yi had never been to the East Ocean where the hidden Zhao family was located. It was the complete opposite of the hidden Han family. One was in the south while the other was in the north. The hidden Zhao family's location was much better than the hidden Han family's location. It was located by the sea and had beautiful scenery. Obviously, this was the benefit of being an old hidden family. Even with the wealth of the hidden Han family, it was hard to buy a large piece of land by the sea and build a manor. After all, the land had been developed, and there were amusement parks, baths, villas, companies, and resorts. Therefore, the hidden Han family could only build their manor in the suburbs of East Ocean City. "Is this the hidden Zhao family? It's really grand." Lin Yi looked at the scenery around the Zhao family's manor, and said in admiration. "Yes, it's here." Han Tianba wasn't envious. "My hidden Han family rose up quite late. It's already good enough that we can maintain our status. The scenery around the manor is nothing." The car arrived at the entrance of the hidden Zhao family's manor. However, it was stopped. A disciple of the hidden Zhao family stood in front of the car and said, "This is private property. Unauthorized people are not allowed to enter. Please leave immediately." Normally, the hidden families who came to attend the summit would not drive only one car. At the very least, there would be 2 or 3 cars. However, the hidden Han family only had one Mercedes-Benz, and it had an East Ocean City license plate. Naturally, the disciple guarding the door thought that it was the wrong passenger. "We are here to attend the hidden family summit. This is our invitation." Han Xiaopa sat in the driver's seat, and took out a red invitation, and handed it over. "Oh, please wait a moment." When the disciple saw the invitation, his attitude became much more respectful. However, after taking the invitation and opening it, the expression on his face became a little strange. "All right." Han Xiaopa nodded and didn't think much of it. However, the disciple handed the invitation to another person beside him. The person took the invitation and glanced at it, then quickly ran inside the manor. In the hidden Zhao family's meeting room, there were already many hidden house masters sitting there. Hidden Zhao family was the organizer of this summit, so naturally, Old Zhao sat at the head of the table. With Old Zhao's identity as a sky-class master, only the masters of House Yu, House Tang, and a few other houses could compare to him. The other hidden house masters were only Earth-class late-phase peak. None of them had broken through to sky-class yet, so it wasn't too much for Old Zhao to sit at the head of the table. "Master, people from the hidden house Han are here." This disciple was the one in charge of delivering the invitation. "Oh, people from the hidden house Han are here?" Old Zhao paused. "They're quite early. How many of them are here?" "Just one Mercedes-Benz. At most, there can't be more than 5 people." The disciple said truthfully. "Just one car?" Old Master Zhao was instantly stunned. He looked at the various family heads present in confusion. This hidden Han family can't be thinking of giving up, right? Why did he only bring 5 people? If one of them is Han Tianba, then there are only 4 spots left. Are they planning on giving up? Elder Zhao, the strongest disciple from the hidden house Han, is only golden class mid-phase. Aren't you looking for trouble by letting them sign up? The one who spoke was Old Tang of the hidden house Tang. From what I see, they're just going through the motions and giving up. That's right. Old Master Zhuang of the hidden Zhuang clan also laughed and said, apart from Old Han, the rest of the disciples are probably here to gain some experience. When the time comes, they might give up on the arena. That'll scare them to death. Elder Zhuang, your hidden house Zhuang has 2 brothers, Zhuang Niapeo and Zhuang Niaoqiang. The winner of this duel is yours. The one who spoke was Old Yu of the hidden house Yu. Aren't we all the same? Would each team be able to win a single match? But Elder Yu and Elder Tang, you 2 won all 3 rounds. Old Zhuang said enviously. Haha, don't forget that we paid a price as well. How did your 2 disciples level up? Didn't he take our pills? Old Man Tang said. All right, let's not think about this. Let's just not talk about it. Old Ancestor Yu said faintly. For House Yu, it wasn't that they had to scheme for House Han's belongings. They just wanted to hide House Yu's position in the hidden houses. They were like the boss of the hidden houses. Chapter 2081. That's true, but letting Han Tianba bring his men in now would be giving him too much face. Let's leave them out for a while, and let them wait. Old Zhao said. We need to let him know that he's just a lackey in front of us. That's right, let's take them down a notch and make them cower before the fight even starts. Old Pai said. Go tell Qibing. Let him come out and wait in the dark. When the hidden house Han is getting impatient, then let them in. Old Zhao said to the messenger. Now Old Zhao wanted to train Qibing, so he liked to let Qibing do things. At the end of the day, it was all because of the qi-gathering pill Qibing had given him. Yes, that person accepted the order and left. Qibing was in the middle of studying the racetrack, and when he received the order, he happily followed the messenger to the entrance of the manor to act cool. One had to know that acting cool was Qibing's specialty and favorite. He'd been hiding in House Zhao recently, so he didn't have the chance to act cool anymore. He had to maintain a gentle and humble attitude towards his family, and this was also for Old Zhao and Elder Bai to see. After all, if he acted arrogantly in House Zhao, he'd easily fall out of favor. Qibing followed the messenger to the guard room at the entrance of the manor. He didn't go out right away, but sat there, playing games on his phone. The messenger, on the other hand, walked out with a cold face. Han Xiaopa waited here for almost 20 minutes, and when the messenger finally came back, he quickly asked, Can we go in now? I'm sorry, your identities have to be verified. We suspect that your invitation was stolen or picked up from somewhere else, so we have to verify your identities. The messenger said coldly. This was what Qibing had taught him. What? Verified? We're members of the hidden Han family, so what's there to verify? When Han Xiaopa heard the message, he immediately became a little anxious. Xiaopa, don't be rash. Han Tianba, on the other hand, seemed to have figured something out. He sat in the passenger seat and scolded Han Xiaopa. Then he said to the voice transmission, I am the leader of the hidden Han family, Han Tianba. May I ask how we can prove our identities? Han Tianba, your hidden Han family only sent a few people and a car. Is that even possible? The messenger laughed coldly and said, the other hidden houses all have 4 or 5 cars, at least 3. Are you here to compete? We don't necessarily need a lot of people to participate in the competition. Please find someone who can prove our identity. Han Tianba did not want to waste any more words with this small fry. This watchdog must have been instructed by the hidden Zhao family to deliberately make things difficult for them. Of course, but the people who can prove it are very busy. You should wait for a while. The messenger said indifferently. Han Xiaopa didn't expect a guard to be so arrogant. He was fuming with anger, but before he could say anything, the messenger had already ignored them. He stood to the side and continued to close the door, treating them like air. Sai weak strength and low status. Han Tianba sighed and said, Xiaopa, don't be angry. They are deliberately looking for trouble. What can we do? Bear with it for now. When the time comes for those matches, Mr. Lin will help us get back at them. What a snob! This was Lin Yi's first impression of the hidden house Zhao. Lin Yi rolled down the window and said impatiently to the messenger, I'll count to 10. Get someone who can prove it, or we're going back. We're not participating in the hidden house summit. 10, 9, 8, 7. Lin Yi didn't care what the messenger said and started counting down. The messenger didn't expect the hidden house Han to be so stubborn. They were leaving when he didn't count to 10? How could he take responsibility for this? The hidden house summit was a trap for House Han. If House Han left, who else could they trap? So the messenger hurriedly turned to look at the guardhouse. Although Zhao Qibing was in the guard room, he was still paying attention to what was going on here. There was a voice transmitter in the guard room, so he could hear everything clearly. Zhao Qibing wanted to leave them alone for a while, and then go out to scold them. He didn't expect them to leave just like that. Seeing that Lin Yi had counted to 1, he turned to Han Xiaopa. Xiaopa, start the car, we're going home. Wait. Zhao Qibing couldn't take it anymore and ran out. Don't you dare. This is the hidden house summit, and if the invited hidden houses don't show up, it means that they've given up their hidden house status and are demoted to a normal house. They won't be protected by the elders of the Hidden House Association anymore. Oh, normal house it is then. They don't need your protection. I'll let them join the association I've formed. Lin Yi opened the door and got off the car. He looked at Zhao Qibing coldly and said faintly, Zhao Qibing, is your leg itchy again? Do you want to break it? Wah! Zhao Qibing was about to explode when he heard the arrogance of House Han. The voice was familiar, but he didn't think much about it until Lin Yi got out of the car. He looked at Lin Yi in disbelief, not understanding why Lin Yi was here all of a sudden. But, not knowing didn't stop him from being afraid of Lin Yi. Zhao Guang, was an Earth-class late phase, and even he was killed by Lin Yi. How could he, Zhao Qibing, be a match for Lin Yi? Lin Yi, why are you here? Zhao Qibing stuttered, changing his arrogant tone. It doesn't matter why I'm here, but your leg's about to break. Lin Yi smiled coldly and walked towards Zhao Qibing. Since this guy was able to participate in the race, he had to have some skills. Lin Yi wasn't afraid of him, but he was afraid that he'd play dirty. If he broke his leg now, he wouldn't be able to do anything. No matter how strong House Zhao was, they wouldn't be able to make Zhao Qibing recover in such a short amount of time. After all, the first race of the day was racing. Chapter 2082. Is that so? I think you guys didn't pay enough when we burned down the orphanage? Lin Yi smiled mockingly and walked towards Qibing. Stop. A cold, arrogant voice rang out as a figure stood in front of Qibing, blocking his path. Save me. Qibing breathed out in relief when he saw who it was. Lin Yi, is it? I don't know why you're here, but I'm warning you, don't do anything stupid. Elder Bai said coldly. I know you're strong, and no one under Sky Class is your match, but there are quite a few Sky Class masters in this villa. Elder Bai? Lin Yi looked at the old man in front of him. The name matched. That's me, Elder Bai said faintly. The ancient world didn't allow the sky-class masters of the hidden houses to go out and cause trouble. But if you were to cause trouble here at House Zhao, especially disrupting our annual Hidden House Summit, then don't blame us for being ruthless. I'm sure the ancient world wouldn't let this slide. Elder Bai was right. The ancient level restricted the sky class of the hidden houses. But if Lin Yi came to cause trouble for the Hidden House Zhao and broke the Hidden House Summit, then even if the ancient level wanted to investigate, they'd have an excuse. Of course, Elder Bai was just trying to scare Lin Yi. Lin Yi was very strange, and his strength was unpredictable. Who knew if he had any trump cards up his sleeves? The main goal now was to ensure that the Hidden House Summit went smoothly. Everything else was secondary, and it would be best if there were no conflicts. Oh, I'm not here to mess around. I'm here representing the Hidden House Han to attend the Hidden House Summit. You guys didn't welcome us and rejected us. If that's the case, why don't we just leave? Lin Yi said calmly. Since Elder Bai was here and pointed out that there was a sky class here, then Lin Yi really couldn't kill Qibing. If they used this as an excuse to gang up on him, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to handle it. You're here to represent the Hidden House Han? Elder Bai was surprised after hearing Lin Yi's words. That's right. Does the Hidden House Summit have a rule that only members of the Hidden House can participate? Lin Yi asked coldly. No. Elder Bai shook his head. The Hidden House Summit had this rule for many years. Naturally, there wasn't a rule that didn't allow people outside the family to participate. After all, a hidden house wasn't like a noble house, where all the core members were from the family. Many of them didn't have the same surname, but those who were talented would be given the surname of the family, like Guang Er and Zhao Qijiu. So, if it were strictly, these people wouldn't be part of the Hidden House Zhao, and the Hidden House Summit would allow them to participate as well. But Elder Bai didn't think that a weak house like the Hidden House Han would be able to invite Lin Yi. Just what was their relationship with Lin Yi? Elder Bai's eyes narrowed as he calculated the pros and cons. This Lin Yi was strong, but his participation wouldn't affect the competition much. After all, most of the competitions were fixed events. And even if the Hidden House Han had Lin Yi, they wouldn't be able to turn the tide. Like racing, for example. The Hidden House Zhao would win for sure, and even if Lin Yi was the god of racing, it wouldn't matter because the Hidden House Zhao had a trump card. If you don't, then why are you talking so much? If you welcome us, then open the door. If you don't, then we'll leave. Lin Yi said coldly. Lin Yi, you're just doing your job as a gatekeeper. Don't worry about these small details. Since I've confirmed it, then you can come in. Elder Bai waved his hand, and the gatekeeper opened the door. Lin Yi didn't say anything and got in the Mercedes. He was here to participate in the competition, not to cause trouble. The Mercedes slowly drove into the villa. Naturally, there were people from House Zhao in charge of their accommodations. Elder Bai, on the other hand, flew back to the meeting room to report. No matter what, Lin Yi's arrival was a change. He had to inform everyone beforehand. Elder Bai, how was it? Did the Hidden House of Han lose? Elder Zhao laughed when he saw Elder Bai come back. Head of the house. Elder Bai smiled bitterly and told him everything that had happened outside. What? You're saying that Lin Yi is representing the Hidden House Han to participate in the competition? Elder Zhao was shocked. The other Hidden House leaders and sect leaders all frowned when they heard Lin Yi's name. Lin Yi's name was known to everyone in the room. This troublemaker gave everyone a headache. Yes, that's what Lin Yi said. Elder Bai said. But the Hidden House only sent 3 people. One is Lin Yi, one is Han Tianba, and the last is a 3rd-generation disciple. I don't know his name yet. Only 3? What's going on? Elder Zhao frowned. That Lin Yi's participating in all the matches alone? That's not necessarily true. Elder Zhao, aren't you overestimating that Lin Yi? It was Elder Tang who spoke. He said faintly, Lin Yi has some aces up his sleeves, but he won't be able to do much in this competition, right? That's true. After hearing Grandfather Tang's words, Grandfather Zhao nodded his head. Every match has been set up beforehand. We will be using each family's strengths. For example, how to dodge hidden weapons. Even if our families were to compete with the Tang family's younger generation, we would not be a match for them. That's right. For example, this duel, no matter how strong that Lin Yi is, he won't be able to fight against the two Zhuang brothers. Zhuang Niaoqiang and Zhuang Niapeo work well together, and they've fought together many times. Even if the hidden Tang family sent their elites, they wouldn't be able to win. Elder Tang smiled. However, the hidden old Yu's face was a little gloomy. The others were not afraid, but he was a little worried. You are not afraid, but I'm afraid our hidden Yu's alchemy competition will lose. That Lin Yi is an alchemist. Chapter 2083. That's true. Elder Tang's eyes flashed. I forgot that Lin Yi is a refiner. Heh. Why don't we just kill this Lin Yi silently? This time, the one who spoke was the current head of the Golden Clock sect, Jin Wudi's senior brother, Jin Gang. Jin Gang had been focused on the sect, not caring about the sect's affairs, leaving it to Jin Wudi to manage. However, he didn't expect that the pride of the Golden Clock sect would be crippled, and Jin Wudi would die trying to avenge him. All of this had to do with a person named Lin Yi from the common world. Jin Gang had wanted to kill when he heard the name Lin Yi, but he didn't have the chance to say it. At this time, the Hidden House Yu wasn't sure if they could win the competition, so he suggested it. Elder Yu's eyelid twitched. He had to admit that Jin Gang's idea wasn't bad, and with the strength of the people here, there were many Sky Class Masters. Killing Lin Yi wouldn't be too hard. Elder Yu, what do you think? Elder Yu's position here was high, but House Yu's position was higher, so he decided to listen to the Hidden House Yu's suggestion. Unrealistic. Old Ancestor Yu pointed at the sky and said faintly, every Hidden House summit, the ancient level pays close attention to it. This time, we've already done some dirty things in the dark. It's just that we don't want to leave any evidence behind. But if we go too far and someone dies, we won't be able to bear the consequences if the higher-ups blame us. Elder Yu's face changed. Indeed, he had received hints from the Sky Elixir sect before this summit. Suppressing the Hidden House Hans and tricking them was fine. But the bottom line was that no one died. As long as no one died, then the Hidden House Hans wouldn't be able to retaliate, and they wouldn't have the mentality of dying together. And if someone really died, the other ancient sects would interfere, and the Sky Elixir sect wouldn't be able to control it. Plus, the Sky Elixir sect was playing a big game of chess right now, and they couldn't let the Hidden House Yu cause trouble. That's right, killing Lin Yi at the Hidden House Summit isn't very likely. Old Man Yu said, the rules of the previous Hidden House Summits are there. Friendship first, competition second. Only competing with skills, not fighting to the death. Diamond Drill sighed. His provocation had failed. It seemed that none of these hidden family heads were idiots. They would never do something that went against the ancient rules. If he wanted revenge, he could only rely on himself. If something goes wrong and you die in the solo trial, you can't blame us, right? The one who spoke was the sect leader of Qianshan sect. Qianshan sect was a sect that mainly reared spiritual beasts. Oh. Sect leader what do you think? And Mingyue asked. That's right, this person was in Mingyue, Zhang Wen's father. Previously, he was from the An family of the 5 small aristocratic families, but now he appeared at the summit of the hidden aristocratic families. However, he wasn't representing the An family. He was representing the Fire Wolf Gang's North Division to participate in the Hidden House Summit. With the Fire Wolf Gang's strength, they were naturally on equal footing with the hidden aristocratic families. It wasn't strange for him to appear here. Plus, the Fire Wolf Gang was one of the local tyrants of Donghai City. Holding the Hidden House Summit here, they couldn't ignore them. And Mingyue hated Lin Yi to the core. He hoped that the kid would die quickly. He had wanted to go along with Diamond Drill from the Golden Clock sect, but Diamond Drill's suggestion was rejected, so he didn't say anything. Now that sect leader from the Qianshan sect spoke, and Mingyue didn't mind adding fuel to the fire. This competition, the final hidden competition, is a challenge that my Qianshan sect has come up with. The one who can last the longest against the ancient spiritual beast wins. Sect leader smiled sinisterly. I can hint to the ancient spirit beast and let it take Lin Yi's life. It's not impossible. Oh. Everyone's eyes brightened up. Yeah, if something went wrong and he died in this competition, then it had nothing to do with the others. Being killed by a spiritual beast and being killed by a disciple of another family were two completely different things. Spirit beasts weren't humans, after all. And it was normal for them to go crazy for no reason. If Lin Yi were to get killed by the spirit beast due to his lack of strength, then he'd just blame it on his bad luck. Even if the ancient sects were to ask about it, he'd be able to push all the blame away. Because no one did it, but the spiritual beast did it. They couldn't be bothered with an animal, right? Although spiritual beasts were raised by the Qianshan sect, it was just temporary. Spiritual beasts had their own opinions, and might run away one day. Killing a person had nothing to do with the Qianshan sect. Sect leader Wa, are you confident? Elder Yu's eyes lit up. The Yu family and Lin Yi had a deep grudge, so he was naturally interested in this matter. Yes, sect leader Wa, is what you said true? The one who spoke was Elder Zhao. The hidden house Zhao and Lin Yi's grudge wasn't small either. I do have some confidence, but if we do this, it won't benefit our Qianshan sect at all? Sect leader was said faintly. Our Qianshan sect has no grudge with that Lin Yi. And no matter how strong Lin Yi is, he won't be able to win the competition that we set up. Sect leader was words made sense. Lin Yi and the Qianshan sect didn't interact much, and they weren't afraid of losing the competition. Elder Yu and Elder Zhao looked at each other, and then at the old ancestor of House Yu. Elder Yu, your House Yu has a grudge with Lin Yi too, right? What do you think? I won't participate. The old ancestor of House Yu said faintly. Elder Yu, that Lin Yi can even kill an Earth-class late-phase master. I won't deny that your hidden House Yu is strong, but even if you're strong, can you win against Lin Yi in the single arena? Elder Zhao naturally wanted to drag more people into the water. Only by giving more benefits to the Qianshan sect could the Qianshan sect's leader help kill Lin Yi. Haha, the competition doesn't allow killing. I've studied it before, that Lin Yi's moves are all killing moves, one fatal move. If he doesn't use those moves, he might not be able to win against our House Yu's masters. The old ancestor of House Yu was a calm person. Before he found trouble with Lin Yi to steal the Qi-gathering pill, not to harm Lin Yi's life. Chapter 2084. Seeing that House Yu wasn't going to budge, House Yu and House Tang's old man had no choice but to look at House Pai, who also had conflicts with Lin Yi. House Yu's old man said, Old Pai, what about you? Lin Yi killed quite a lot of your people, didn't he? Although we have some misunderstanding with Lin Yi, our grudge with Lin Yi isn't that big right now, and we don't want to get involved. House Pai's elder was a shrewd man. It was good that Lin Yi was dead, but what if he wasn't? If he wasn't killed by the spirit beast, then the hidden House Pai wouldn't be able to handle it. Hidden House Pai only had one sky-class early-phase physical practitioner, the big brother of House Pai's elder. But Lin Yi could even kill an Earth-class late-phase spiritual practitioner, so it wouldn't be hard for him to kill a sky-class early-phase physical practitioner as well. So House Pai didn't want to get involved in this. If they went for wool and came home shorn, then they'd be screwed. Headmaster Jin Gang, what do you think? House Yu's elder didn't have a choice. Other than him and House Zhao's elder, no one else supported killing Lin Yi. Even House Tang's elder had some conflicts with Lin Yi, but it wasn't to the point of death. So the only one left was the headmaster Jin Gang of the Golden Clock sect. My grudge with that Lin Yi won't end until one of us is dead. If we can really kill Lin Yi, then we'll do whatever you say. Jin Gang said. All right. House Yu's elder finally found another friend, and he looked at An Mingyue. Mr. An, I heard that your son and Lin Yi have a deep grudge? The Fire Wolf Gang's grudge can be resolved by ourselves. And Mingyue was even cleverer. The three houses had decided to kill Lin Yi already, and it wasn't just one or two houses, but if all three were to offer some benefits, it would be enough to move the Gone Mountain sect's headmaster. So An Mingyue didn't need to join in the fun. It would be great if Lin Yi died, but he didn't. Plus, he didn't have the final say in the Fire Wolf Gang. He was just a representative, different from the other hidden houses. The treasures that An Mingyue brought were just enough to bet. One more wouldn't make a difference. When he returned, he would have to hand in the exact amount. Naturally, he didn't have anything to give to Qian Mountain sect, so he didn't participate. Headmaster Wa, each of us will take out one treasure. After this is done, we'll give it to you as a gift. What do you think? Well, the three of us will offer one treasure each. After this is over, what do you think of it? How would sect leader Wu of Qian Mountain sect not understand the meaning in old Zhao's words? But he was confident, so he just said lightly, 3 treasures of heaven and earth. It can't be said to be a lot, but it's better than nothing. It's settled then. Leave this matter to me. Okay. Old Master Zhao nodded and said, great, then it's decided. Old Man Zhao, Old Man Yu, and Diamond Drill were not afraid that these private conversations would spread to the ancient times. Everyone present was a part of the conspiracy against the hidden Han family. Everyone's but was not clean, so they were not afraid that someone would gossip in private. Han Tianba, Han Xiaopa, and Linny entered the Zhao manor, naturally not knowing that the heads of the other houses were plotting against them. But with Elder Bai's orders, no one dared disrespect them on the way. Originally, according to the Hidden House Zhao's plan, even if the Hidden House Han moved in, the disciples would just treat them coldly. But with the addition of Lin Yi, Elder Bai didn't go looking for trouble. Lin Yi was a pain in the ass, and he'd let the head figure out how to deal with him. He didn't want to piss off a madman like Lin Yi. These snobbish slaves. Han Xiaopa sat in the courtyard of the guest room prepared by the Zhao family and drank hot tea. He said hatefully. After seeing boss, his attitude immediately changed 180 degrees. If boss didn't come this time, we probably wouldn't even get to drink hot tea. Xiaopa, the training world is like this. The one with the strongest fist talks. Han Tianba wasn't angry. He shook his head and seemed to have accepted it. Our hidden house is weak now, so it's normal for them to bully us. With Mr. Lin joining, they're afraid of Mr. Lin's power, so it's normal for them to treat us with respect. After we win a few matches, let's see if they still dare to treat us like this. Han Xiaopa humphed. Winning the matches is secondary. The main thing is that you have a powerful boss. Han Tianba smiled. Oh. Han Xiaopa paused, but he understood what Han Tianba meant. Han Tianba wanted him to use this hidden house summit to spread the news that he had accepted Lin Yi as his boss. However, although Han Xiaopa understood, he still looked at Lin Yi. Lin Yi naturally understood what Han Tianba meant, but he didn't mind. Han Xiaopa was a loyal little brother, and he was even asking for his opinion. This made Lin Yi even more satisfied. He nodded. During the duels, I will tell them. Thank you, boss. Han Xiaopa was overjoyed and quickly thanked him. The three of them rested in the garden for a while. Then a disciple of the Hidden House Zhao ran over. However, he had a Hidden House Summit service staff tag on his neck. Clearly, he had something to tell the Hidden House Han. Is the head of the Han family here? The disciple ran over and asked respectfully. Clearly, he had been instructed by Elder Bai. His attitude was very good. Elder Zhao had already made the decision to let the Gan Mountain sect do something to Lin Yi in the last hidden match. Naturally, he wouldn't piss off Lin Yi. I am Han Tianba of the Hidden House Han. What can I do for you, envoy? Han Tianba stood up and asked. The staff members of the Hidden House Summit were called envoys. This was a rule that had been in place for many years. Head of the Han family, please head to the meeting room. We need to discuss the first match. The disciple said. Okay, please lead the way. Han Tianba nodded and made an inviting gesture. The disciple brought Han Tianba to the meeting room and said, Head of the Han family, please enter. Han Tianba walked into the meeting room and saw the various family heads, elders, and sect leaders sitting around the conference table. His heart sank. It seemed that the situation was just as he had guessed and the information he had received. These hidden families and sects had joined forces to deal with the Hidden Han family. Chapter 2085. Greetings, elders and headmaster. Han Tianba cupped his fists and bowed according to the rules of the martial world. Patriarch Han, come and take a seat. You're the only one left. Old Master Zhao smiled and pretended to be enthusiastic. Since Han Tianba was already here, he wasn't afraid and sat down on an empty seat. All right, since Master Han is here, then we can begin the Hidden House Summit. Elder Zhao nodded and started talking. Everyone knows that the purpose of the Hidden House Summit is for the children of each house to have a chance to train. It's also to urge them to work hard and achieve better results, so I won't go into the details. Haha, that's right. It's not even the first time Old Master Han has participated in the Hidden House Summit. Naturally, there's no need for introductions. Let's talk about the rules and competition of this year's Hidden House Summit. That's right. There were some loopholes in the rules of the last summit. The Hidden House of Han forfeited every single round and refused to participate. That's not right. If every single Hidden House refused to participate, then what's the point of this trial? Old Zhao said. Han Tianba laughed coldly. He already knew that this year's Hidden House Summit was targeted at his house, so he knew about the rules beforehand. Yeah, but last year Hidden House Han was a newcomer, so we treated it as a spectator. This year, we can't do that again, Elder Tang said. So this year's rules have been discussed and we've made some minor changes. Old Man Zhao said. That is, every family and sect must participate in every competition. Even if they forfeit, they must still place a bet. This way, it will prevent people from being opportunistic and only placing bets on the events that they are good at, causing the competition to be unfair. Fair. Old Grandfather Han thought to himself. Your rules sound fair, but to the Hidden Han family, it's the most unfair. That's right. Rules need to be perfected for it to be fair. Elder Zhuang nodded. This year's competition, regardless of whether or not they signed up, they must place a bet. Even if they forfeit, they must place a bet. Elder Zhao said. I'll explain the rules in detail. All right, we're all ears. Elder Pai said. Han Tianba felt like they were being hypocritical. Luckily, he had Lin Yi's help, or else he would have been pissed to death. For every match, every house must take out a treasure as a bet. Whether they participate or forfeit, they must place a bet. Old Man Zhao explained. And the winner of every match will be able to obtain all the bets other than the second and third place bets. And the second and third place bets will be able to retrieve their family's belongings after the end of the match. At the same time, the person in first place also had the right to exchange. For example, if the item he favored was in second or third place, he could use any item in the wager to exchange with the person in second or third place, and the person in second or third place could not refuse. The person in second place also had the right to exchange, but he could only forcefully exchange the items of the person in third place. He couldn't forcefully exchange the items of the person in first place. Of course, if the person in first place agreed, they could also exchange. The third place didn't have the right to exchange, but if the second and third place agreed, they could exchange with each other. Of course, if all the houses forfeit, or if the houses that didn't forfeit all lose the match, then each house will take back their bets and the match will be invalid. Of course, if all the houses forfeit, or the houses that didn't forfeit all lose the match, then each house will take back their bets and the match will be invalid. This rule was very simple. After Old Man Zhao explained it, everyone understood. To put it bluntly, everyone was working together to trick the Han family. There was nothing strange about it. This rule was developed by everyone except for Han Tianba. Han Tianba himself also got the general idea from other sources. Now that he heard it, it was more detailed and more explanation for the second and third place. Everyone, do you have any objections to this rule? Elder Zhao asked. Han Tianba was speechless. This rule was created by everyone. What objections? Even if I had objections, would you accept it if I brought it up? All right, if there are no objections, then let's move on to the first match, the car race. Elder Zhao looked at Han Tianba's sullen face and felt very refreshed. He thought that they had a chance with Lin Yi, but now it seemed like it was nothing. Although Lin Yi was said to be very powerful, he might not be that powerful in a race like this. And this is a trial for the disciples. Us old guys shouldn't waste time. Elder Yu said. Since it's a competition to motivate the disciples, let's start now. Naturally, Elder Yu is a man of virtue and prestige. Does anyone have any objections? Elder Zhao asked. Since House Yu's old ancestor had spoken, who else would dare to object? All right, since no one has any objections, let's go back and get ready. We'll bring our disciples and bets to the meeting hall at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. After that, we'll head to the mountain behind our Zhao family for the race. Master Zhao said. After Elder Zhao finished, the elders and heads of the houses left as well, returning to their temporary residences to prepare for the competition in the afternoon. Although the first place had already been decided internally, the second and third places had not been decided internally. Therefore, those families that had not been decided internally as the first place were all wondering if they could get the second or third place. This way they could at least keep their bets and not lose money. In other words, although these hidden houses and sects had agreed to harm the hidden house Han, they were still competing internally. Whoever got the second or third place would be the biggest winner. Han Tianba returned to his residence and Han Xiaopa immediately stood up to greet him. "Grandpa, how was it?" "As expected. The rules were pretty much the same as what we heard. You have to bet even if you forfeit," Han Tianba said. "Luckily, we prepared in advance and had Mr. Lin. Otherwise, we would have lost badly." "As expected." Han Xiaopa nodded. "When does the first match start? Which event are we competing in?" Chapter 2086. "Yes," Han Xiaopa replied. "Mr. Lin, thank you," Han Tianba said. "It's nothing." Lin Yi waved his hand. At 1 o'clock sharp, the patriarchs and sect leaders of the various clans and sects that had appeared in the morning all brought their disciples to the meeting hall. These clans and sects were different from the Han family. Usually, the patriarchs or sect leaders would only bring one disciple to participate in the competition. The other disciples would stay in their residences to rest and build up their strength. After all, there was no suspense about the winner of this competition, and there was no point in watching it. They weren't familiar with the content of the competition, so they might as well take a break and shock the world in the next competition. "Old Master Han, who's the hidden house Han sending? Why are there two?" Old Zhao asked mischievously when he saw House Zhao registering the bets and the competition list. "Mr. Lin, of course." Han Tianba smiled, not angry at all. "Xiaopa is just here to see the world." "All right." Elder Zhao had a disciple register Lin Yi's name, and glanced at the treasure in Han Tianba's hand. It was a 1,000-year-old Lingji mushroom, a great ingredient for medicine refinement. It seemed that the hidden house Han knew the rules, too, and they couldn't use items that were too low level as stakes. "Old Zhao, who's the Zhao sending? Don't tell me it's Zhao Qibing, that god of misfortune?" Lin Yi looked at old Zhao and mocked. Lin Yi had gotten the news from Han Tianba a long time ago. This was a meeting of the hidden houses, and they weren't allowed to fight to the death. They couldn't hurt people in private, either, so he wasn't worried about his safety. After all, the ancient level was watching. Zhao Qibing is the god of racing. Since when did he become the god of misfortune? Don't talk nonsense. I'll warn you as the organizer that you're cursing him. Old Zhao said coldly. "I'm not cursing him. I should be warning you not to talk nonsense." Lin Yi curled his lips. "I'm just speaking the truth. Zhao Qibing's legs are easy to break. Whatever you say. We'll see if you're strong enough in the competition." Old Zhao thought. He'll let Lin Yi talk for now, and when the time comes, he'll let the Qianshan sect kill him. After everyone registered, the group arrived at the back mountain of the hidden Zhao family's manor. This was also the hidden Zhao family's private territory. The winding mountain road could be used as a private racetrack. At this moment, at the foot of the mountain, there was already a row of brand new Volkswagen Jetta cars. Each car was printed with the surname of each family and sect. Obviously, all the participating disciples knew the model of the car, and didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. There are no rules in this race. The first to reach the finish line at the top of the mountain wins. Old Master Zhao said. "In order to show the fairness of the competition, I would like to invite two highly respected representatives to check if all the cars are the same." It was a brand new car and had not been tampered with. Elder Yu and Elder Yu, both of them were Sky Class Masters. "Please excuse me." "All right. No problem." Elder Yu and Elder Yu nodded and went to check the car. Lin Yi sneered at the scene before him. This was simply fooling a ghost. These two were in cahoots with the hidden Zhao family. They were fooling the hidden Han family together. Asking them to check? What could they find out? Fair. However, the hidden house Han was weak now, and the rules were set by them. They couldn't do anything about it. After a while, Elder Yu and Elder Yu said at the same time, "The cars are all brand new." "All right, since Elder Yu and Elder Yu have done the fairness, then all the participants please get on the car marked with your surname and sect. The competition will start with the sound of the horn. Once the horn sounds, the race will begin," Old Zhao said. Lin Yi looked coldly at Zhao Qibing not far away. A strange smile appeared on his face as he walked towards the car marked with House Han. Zhao Qibing felt a chill down his spine from Lin Yi's stare. He didn't know what that smile meant, but he still scoffed and forced himself to get on his car calmly. What was there to be afraid of? Racing wasn't a fight, it was too easy for him to beat him. One had to know that his car was modified, the only one out of all the cars that had been modified. As for Elder Yu and Elder Yu's inspection, it was just a formality. House Zhao was the host of this hidden noble house summit, and the other events were all taken by others. As the host, it wouldn't be right if House Zhao didn't win at least one race. But compared to Zhao Qikuan of the hidden Zhao family, he didn't have much of an advantage. So in order to balance the competition, they added a race and gave the championship to the hidden House Zhao. Zhao Qibing was good at racing, and he had the advantage of being familiar with the terrain. But other hidden houses, other than the hidden House Han, could invite other racers as helpers. It was just that the championship was decided internally, so it wasn't troublesome. With a loud horn, Lin Yi quickly stepped on the accelerator, and the car sped forward. After that, Lin Yi started shifting gears non-stop until he reached the highest gear. He stepped on the accelerator as well, maintaining his position in the lead among all the cars. This move of Lin Yi's stunned all the elders and sect masters. Was Lin Yi really good at driving? Elder Zhao, on the other hand, was also thankful that he had a trick up his sleeves. Zhao Qibing's car was modified, otherwise, this competition would be over. This Lin Yi really couldn't be underestimated. He was a practitioner, and his driving skills were so good that even Zhao Qibing, who often raced in illegal races abroad, wasn't his match. Although Zhao Qibing's start wasn't as good as Lin Yi's, it didn't take long for the modified car to show its advantage. Lin Yi and the others all had naturally aspirated engines, but Zhao Qibing's was a turbocharged one. After the turbocharged, the car's speed increased, and in an instant, it overtook Lin Yi's car, leaving Lin Yi far behind. Lin Yi's understanding of cars wasn't any less than Zhao Qibing's, and it could even be said that he knew more than Zhao Qibing. He frowned when he saw Zhao Qibing's car overtaking him. Lin Yi had been speeding up since the horn sounded, and his speed was now over 160 miles per hour. Lin Yi was still speeding up, and Lin Yi's car, on the other hand, was at least 230 miles per hour, and it was still speeding up. Was this even possible? It wasn't as if Lin Yi had never driven a Jetta before, and 200 miles per hour at most. Even for Lin Yi, it wasn't easy to stay at 220 miles per hour. Chapter 2087. Bookmark, providing you with interesting reading. After all, the mountain road was bumpy, and Qibing was still accelerating at 223. It didn't take long for him to realize that something was wrong. So he immediately realized that there was something wrong with Qibing's car. As for the inspection by Grandpa Yu and Grandpa Yu, it was all a cover-up. He'd have a good chance of winning if they were both using the same car, but the cars were different. He wasn't confident even if he was one of the best racers in the world when it came to competing with a modified car with a regular car. Fuck, isn't this too much? How is this possible? Han Xiaopa saw that Qibing's car, which was originally second to Lin Yi, had suddenly overtaken Lin Yi. He wasn't happy at all. Qibing's car is obviously problematic. Have you ever seen a Jetta that can go 220 or 30 miles per hour? And the acceleration is so fast, there's obviously something wrong with the engine. What? Grandpa Han, does your family have something to say? Grandpa Zhao looked at Han Xiaopa and asked coldly. Could it be that you're doubting the fairness of Grandpa Yu and Grandpa Yu? Xiaopa, don't talk nonsense. Han Tianba sighed inwardly. He really couldn't say anything under these circumstances. If he said too much, he'd offend House Yu and House Yu as well. Now that the hidden House Han was on the decline, it'd be a waste if they found an excuse to cause trouble. How could Han Xiaopa not understand his grandpa's meaning? He sighed and didn't say anything else, feeling quite regretful. He'd thought that Lin Yi would be able to win the race after seeing how good his driving skills were, leading from the very start. But it seemed like that was nothing more than a pipe dream. Very quickly, Lin Yi used his superb driving skills to increase the speed of his car to 210 kilometers, 220 kilometers. But he realized helplessly that Lin Yi's speed was close to 267 kilometers per hour. If his car wasn't modified, then Lin Yi's speed would be the limit. The official speed of this car was only 175 kilometers per hour. Lin Yi was already seriously exceeding the speed limit. Was Qibing's car an airplane? Jie. Zhao Qibing looked at Lin Yi's car that was getting smaller and smaller in the rearview mirror. He was overjoyed. You think you're good at driving just because you're skilled? I can't beat you to death. However, there was a bend in the road ahead, and Qibing had no choice but to slow down. The bend in the mountain road was no joke, and with such high speed, even if he was a golden class practitioner, he'd be crippled from the fall if he wasn't careful. While Qibing was slowing down, Lin Yi was still maintaining his speed of 220 miles per hour, using the inertia to accelerate. Fuck, are you crazy? Qibing cursed silently as he watched Lin Yi's car speed towards him like a madman, but he didn't dare to speed up too much. He wanted to win the competition, but he valued his life even more. What was the point of winning the competition if he died? Qibing didn't dare to be careless as he entered the bend. He controlled the speed to be around 160 kilometers per hour. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to control it if it was too fast. With his driving skills, this speed was already his limit. However, in the next moment, Qibing was shocked to find that Lin Yi had entered the mountain road at a speed of 230 miles per hour, drifting through the bend without slowing down at all. And so, after a few drifts, Lin Yi caught up with Qibing, and Qibing's car was already in front of him. Fuck, luckily there's a straight road ahead, or else this madman would have caught up with me. Qibing looked at the rearview mirror and thanked himself for his luck. After entering the mountain road, there was a straight road ahead. On this kind of road, Qibing could use his advantage of unlimited acceleration again. And so, just as Lin Yi was about to catch up with Qibing accelerated again, and left Lin Yi in the dust. Wahahaha. Qibing laughed delightfully. Ever since he met Lin Yi, this was the first time Lin Yi lost, so he was very happy. In the past he was always the one losing to Lin Yi, but this time, he reversed the situation. Lin Yi wasn't angry, nor was he irritated. Instead, he calmly watched as Qibing sped up again, leaving him far behind. Although Lin Yi's driving skills were undeniable, and he wasn't weak at all, but when it came to driving, he was still a far cry from Qibing. Even if Lin Yi's skills were heaven-defying, drifting through the bends non-stop, he was still no match for Qibing. Qibing's car was too good, and he could kill Lin Yi in a split second when accelerating in a straight line. It's fine if you guys play by the rules, but since you're playing dirty with me, then don't blame me for not going easy on you. Lin Yi shook his head and said faintly. After Lin Yi calculated that he wouldn't be Qibing's opponent no matter what he did, Lin Yi didn't plan to play according to the rules anymore. Since Qibing broke the rules first, then don't blame Lin Yi for not going easy on him. Lin Yi was still driving calmly, but he had secretly started to condense a pure energy bomb in his right hand. Lin Yi hadn't used this trump card against others for a long time, and he didn't expect to use it again this time on Qibing. Of course, Lin Yi didn't plan to kill Lin Yi. Since the rules of the competition didn't allow killing, if Lin Yi made too big of a commotion, it would attract suspicion, and he might get into trouble. After all, there were several Sky-class masters here, and Lin Yi wasn't that crazy yet. But if he made a small accident so that no one could find any evidence, then there wouldn't be a problem. And so Lin Yi stopped condensing the pure energy bomb after condensing it, and focused on driving, waiting for the next turn. Finally, after passing through a straight section of the road, they arrived at the bend again. This winding mountain road was very strange. There was a mountain road, and a mountain road. It was like a racetrack specially designed for racing. From Lin Yi's point of view, this was probably an underground racetrack. Otherwise, if it was just for the hidden noble houses meeting every year, there was no need for Hidden House Zhao to spend so much money to build a racetrack. Plus, Hidden House Zhao wouldn't be hosting the meeting every year. This was probably a place for Hidden House Zhao to make money in the dark. Hidden noble houses couldn't do business in the open, but doing business in the dark without being discovered by the Hidden Noble Houses Arbitration Committee wasn't a problem. Plus, the Hidden Noble Houses Arbitration Committee only existed in name now, and the few elders were the ancestors of the various houses. Hidden House Zhao naturally wouldn't be afraid of anything. Chapter 2088. Lin Yi rolled down the window a little, and the cold mountain wind blew into the car, making a weird whining sound. But this kind of wind was nothing to Lin Yi, and Lin Yi didn't mind at all. Lin Yi was just waiting for the right opportunity. Turn, drift. Turn again, drift again. The distance between Lin Yi's car and Zhao Qibing's car was getting smaller and smaller, and Lin Yi smiled coldly as he threw the pure energy bomb at Zhao Qibing's right rear tire. With a loud bang, the right rear tire of Zhao Qibing's car exploded, and he lost control of his car in that instant. Due to the high speed, his car spun a few times on the curve, then rolled down the winding mountain road. This mountain road was specially built for racing, and it wasn't very steep. Even if Zhao Qibing's car fell down, it wouldn't crash and kill him. Plus, Zhao Qibing's car must have had a lot of safety measures installed, so he wasn't afraid of falling to his death. Zhao Qibing was very pleased with himself, but he didn't think that his car would roll over like that. He screamed in shock, but no one could hear him. Lin Yi's car rolled behind Zhao Qibing's car, brushing past him. Using the pure energy bomb to destroy Zhao Qibing's car was something that Lin Yi did very secretively, and so no one at the foot of the mountain saw that it was Lin Yi's doing. They only saw Zhao Qibing's car suddenly go out of control and roll down the mountain road. Qibing! Old Zhao saw Zhao Qibing's car rolling down, and he couldn't care less anymore as he yelled and quickly rushed to the scene of the accident. The elders of the other clans and the leaders of the sects all followed behind old Zhao and ran towards the scene of the accident. Zhao Qibing's car had been modified, and the safety measures were naturally modified as well. The accident this time was serious, but Zhao Qibing's life wasn't in danger. But when old Zhao got Zhao Qibing out of the car, Zhao Qibing's legs were crushed by the car. Qibing, how are you? Elder Zhao asked as he helped Qibing reconnect the bones in his leg. Grandpa, it hurts. Qibing's heart was filled with unwillingness. He was so close to victory, but he didn't think that his car would have a flat tire. Qibing, what's going on? Did Lin Yi harm you? Old Zhao subconsciously thought of Lin Yi. Only Lin Yi would have the motive to harm him. Plus, Lin Yi's car was the closest to Zhao Qibing's, so it was most likely to be tampered with. I have no idea. Zhao Qibing endured the pain. I don't know what happened, the tires just burst. Flat tire. Elder Zhao looked at the right rear tire of Zhao Qibing's car. He wanted to see if there was anything wrong with it, but he couldn't find anything. He turned to Elder Tang and asked, Elder Tang, the hidden house Tang has a deep understanding of hidden weapons. Please take a look and see if this tire was broken by a hidden weapon. After all, with Lin Yi's strength, it would be a piece of cake for him to use a hidden weapon or a stone to burst a tire, but old Zhao couldn't be sure. All right. Grandfather Tang nodded his head as he carefully examined the punctured tire. After a while, he shook his head and said, It doesn't look like it was caused by a hidden weapon or an irregular injury. Rather, it looks like it was caused by an explosion. Oh? So, it really was a tire burst? Old Zhao didn't doubt old Tang's judgment. After all, Hidden House Tang was a house that specialized in hidden weapons. If old Tang said that it wasn't a hidden weapon, then it really wasn't. That's right. Old Tang nodded. It was strange, but according to his judgment, it really was caused by a tire burst. Why am I so unlucky? Qibing was furious when he heard that his tire had exploded out of nowhere. He could have won against Lin Yi, but he'd lost the chance to do so. This car, which disciple was in charge of maintaining it? Old Zhao was furious as well. They were going to lose this competition, and they wouldn't be able to get back their bet. Even the second and third place didn't have a chance. How could old Zhao, who wanted to be the champion, be satisfied? But there was nothing he could do. The tire burst was an accident, and Zhao Qibing could only blame his bad luck. I was wondering why the car was driving so fast. It really was a problematic car. Han Xiaopa curled his lips. He didn't know if it was Lin Yi's doing, but no matter what, Zhao Qibing's car had crashed was a good thing for Lin Yi. Old Zhao's face darkened. How could he not tell that Han Xiaopa was taking pleasure in his misfortune? He humphed. People make mistakes, horses stumble. It's normal for a car to have a problem. What's there to be surprised about? No, didn't Elder Zhao say that the car was inspected by Elder Yu and Elder Yu? Is there no problem? Han Tianba said with a smile. They're not professional car engineers. How could they tell if there's a problem with the car? Old Zhao frowned. Heh. Maybe the modification workers are too bad? Han Tianba said. But no matter what, no matter how unhappy old Zhao was, he had to find the disciples of his house and send Zhao Qibing back for treatment. This race couldn't continue no matter what. The hidden house Zhao had to withdraw from the race because of the crash. This was originally a competition designed for the hidden Zhao family, but in the end, the hidden Zhao family lost everything. On the other side of the mountain, Linny had successfully crossed the finish line. This result made some happy and some sad. Han Tianba was naturally happy, and so was Han Xiaopa. But the other hidden houses weren't as happy. They said that they would take turns to be the banker, but they lost the first round. The most infuriating thing was that the winner was the hidden house Han that they had been targeting together. If they knew that the hidden house Han would win, they wouldn't have set up this race. But the rules were set. They couldn't go back on their words, could they? Plus, if they went back on their words in the first round, would they still be able to compete in the future? So according to the rules, Linny won and won everything except the second and third place. Chapter 2089. Although it wasn't hard to find the recipe for this kind of medicine, the ingredients were extremely difficult to find. It was considered a rare item, but it wasn't very useful for spiritual practitioners. First race, Hidden House Han wins. After settling Zhao Qibing down, old Zhao endured the pain in his heart and placed the treasures in front of Han Tianba. Do you want to exchange for the second and third places items? After old Master Zhao finished this sentence, he desperately winked at old Master Yu, who was in second place. Because in this pile of treasures, there was something that Hidden House Zhao urgently needed. It was contributed by Hidden House Shuang. Hidden House Shuang gave face to Hidden House Zhao. Hidden House Zhao was supposed to be the champion of this race, so this item would eventually fall into the hands of Hidden House Zhao. However, they didn't expect that Linny would appear out of nowhere. Old Zhao was determined to get that item, so he hoped that Hidden House Yu would use their right to exchange with Lin Yi. Han Tianba didn't say anything and looked at Lin Yi. After all, the winner was Lin Yi, and according to the agreement, these treasures belonged to Lin Yi. It was up to Lin Yi to decide whether to exchange or not. Lin Yi looked at the things he got. There weren't many useful things. They were all treasures that might be useful for alchemy in the future, but they weren't useful at the moment. However, Hidden House Yu's Qi Gathering Pill and Hidden House Pai's Body Refining Elixir were things that Lin Yi really wanted. But unexpectedly, these two families still won. However, Lin Yi did not speak at this moment. Instead, he quietly observed the situation. Old Zhao kept signaling old Yu, who was hiding in the Yu family, with his eyes. He was afraid that old Zhao was plotting something. Lin Yi was not in a hurry. He said lightly, "You family head, you don't need to exchange with me, right? If you don't want to exchange, I'll exchange with Hidden House Pai." Cough cough. Old Master Zhao coughed violently. He was afraid that the Yu family would miss the opportunity. It seemed that Lin Yi didn't want the small Qi Gathering Pill hidden in the hands of the Yu family, so he proposed to exchange with the third place first. Otherwise, why didn't Lin Yi directly exchange with the second hidden Yu family? Could it be that there was something wrong with Lin Yi's logic? "Mr. Lin, I'd like to trade for a treasure. Is that possible?" The person in second place had the right to ask the person in first place for an exchange and the person in third place for an exchange, so he asked. "Oh." Lin Yi pretended to be surprised and asked, "What do you want to exchange for?" "I want to exchange for the 500-year-old lotus in your hand," said Old Man Yu. 500-year-old lotus? Lin Yi glanced at the treasure in his hand and said indifferently, "This thing is really useless to me, but I don't want to exchange it with you." Old Man Yu paused and asked, "Since it's useless, why not exchange it?" "Yeah, this 500-year-old lotus is rare, but the small Qi Gathering Pill is also a good thing. It can let a practitioner break through from the peak of the late phase to the earth class. It's hard to buy." Old Man Zhao also added, "This 500-year-old lotus is just a supplement. It can stabilize the strength of the heaven class. In terms of value, it's much less than the small Qi Gathering Pill." "Oh, I'm not the peak of the late phase either. What do I need the small Qi Gathering Pill for?" Lin Yi said indifferently, "This 500-year-old lotus can be used when I advance into the heaven class in a few days." "In a few days?" Old Man Zhao took a deep breath. He didn't know if Lin Yi was bragging or if he really would advance into the heaven class soon. But after hearing what Lin Yi said, he was even more anxious. His heaven class strength wasn't very stable yet. After all, he used spiritual medicine to forcefully break through, so it wasn't as stable as those who broke through naturally. He needed to consolidate his strength, and this 500-year-old lotus was for that. Yeah, I level up very quickly, don't you know? Lin Yi asked. Of course I know. Old man Zhao said. But Mr. Lin is so talented, I don't think you need this thing. After all, this thing is only for stabilizing your strength, and Mr. Lin's strength is advancing at a tremendous pace. You don't need to stabilize it at all. Who knows, you might level up again before it's stabilized. Oh, you're right. Lin Yi nodded. Right, so, do you want to exchange it? Old man Zhao asked anxiously. No. Lin Yi rejected without hesitation. Old man Zhao was furious. You don't want to exchange it even if it's useless? However, although he was annoyed in his heart, he didn't dare to be careless on the surface. He could only hold back his anger and asked, why? Little Qi gathering pill is useless. Although it's precious, I can also refine it. The price of those materials isn't worth this 500-year-old lotus. Lin Yi shook his head and said. Old man, you thought that Lin Yi had cheated 2 cauldrons before. In that case, Lin Yi must be an alchemist. This little Qi gathering pill was a 2nd-grade elixir. Maybe Lin Yi could really refine it himself. It was normal that he didn't like it. Thinking of this, old man, you said, then, why are you willing to exchange? 2 little Qi gathering pills. If you can afford it, I'll reluctantly exchange. Lin Yi said faintly. 2. Old man, you heard Lin Yi's words and sneered. You're asking for too much. The materials needed for 1 little Qi gathering pill were indeed not worth the price of this 500-year-old lotus, but the materials needed for 2 little Qi gathering pills had already exceeded the value of this lotus. Moreover, even if you have 2 sets of materials, you may not be able to successfully refine 2 little Qi gathering pills. Do it or not. Lin Yi also sneered. I'm the first, I make the decision. You have the right to exchange, I have the right not to exchange. Yes, I'll exchange. Old man Zhao gave old man Yu a look. Their hidden house Zhao still had 1 little Qi gathering pill. They wanted to give it to Zhao Qibing in the future, but at the moment, this 500-year-old lotus was more important. So old man Zhao decided to exchange it first, and buy it from the hidden house Yu in the future. We'll exchange the goods at the same time. Lin Yi said. Okay. Since old man Zhao said to exchange, old man Yu naturally wouldn't say anything more. At that time, the hidden house Zhao would definitely compensate the hidden house Yu. Chapter 2090. Otherwise, Han Xiaopa wouldn't have been so serious when he asked for a Qi gathering pill. After exchanging for the 500-year thin lotus, Lin Yi turned to Elder Pai. I'm interested in your body refinement potion. Out of all the things I have, that 500-year thin lotus is the most useless, and I wanted to exchange it with you, but I didn't think that Elder you would beat me to it. I'm sorry. What? Elder Zhao almost spat out blood after hearing Lin Yi's words. So Lin Yi didn't want the 500-year thin lotus? If he knew that Lin Yi wanted it from the hidden house Pai, he wouldn't have used 2 Qi gathering pills. House Pai's potion was precious, but it wasn't worth 2 Qi gathering pills, it was just 1. Unknowingly, old man Zhao had paid double the price in exchange for the 500-year-old thin lotus flower. I say, Elder Zhao, I'm trading with someone else. What are you doing? Even if you're the host of the Hidden House Summit, you can't just interfere with everything, can you? Lin Yi said purposely. Elder Zhao was pissed, hating himself for being too hasty. Out of all these things, this meridian opening pill isn't bad. I'll give it to your house Pai in exchange for the potion. Lin Yi looked at the treasures in his hand, and there was a meridian opening pill, which seemed to be from the hidden house Yu or the hidden house Tang. This thing was useless to Lin Yi. The meridian opening pill could repair 1/3 of the injured person's meridians, meaning that if the meridians were damaged within 1/3 of the body, it could be healed with the meridian opening pill. Otherwise, it would be useless even if one ate 2. But for Lin Yi, even if all of his meridians were damaged, he could use the art of dragon mastery. This meridian opening pill was much more useless. Elder Pai was speechless. What did he need the meridian opening pill for? The Hidden House Pai was a family that trained in physical martial arts. Even if their meridians were all destroyed, it wouldn't affect their training. This meridian opening pill was even more useless to them. However, the third place couldn't be chosen, and the first place had to be changed. Therefore, he gave the elixir to Lin Yi in exchange for a meridian unblocking pill. Old Master Pai thought that he could only bet on the next round. Lin Yi wanted this potion for Chun Tian. Chun Tian was a spiritual practitioner, and while Lin Yi could help with the spiritual aspect, Lin Yi couldn't help much with the spiritual aspect. This potion from the Hidden House Pai was obviously good stuff, and House Wu wouldn't be able to get it. After the bets were distributed, the elders brought their children back to their rooms to rest and prepare for the next round of the competition. The time for the second match was set to be in the evening, which was after dinner. Therefore, the elders of the various families had to go back and give instructions. After all, the Hidden Zhao family had failed miserably in the first match. The other aristocratic families also had to pay attention and be extremely cautious in the following matches to avoid any more accidents. Everyone had their own things to do, and Elder Zhao wasn't in a good mood. Naturally, he didn't host a banquet. Instead, he ordered the kitchen to prepare some exquisite dishes and sent them to the rooms of the hidden houses. Haha, boss, today was so satisfying. When Han Xiaopa returned to the guest room, he started shouting excitedly. I saw that Zhao Qibing's car seemed to have been modified, and I was so worried that boss would lose. Who would have thought that Zhao Qibing would be so enraged by the heavens? Even the heavens are helping us, blowing out his tires. Haha. Enraged by the heavens? Lin Yi smiled. His car went through a strict inspection before the race. How could it be that easy to get a flat tire? Han Xiaopa paused, and a strange light flashed in his eyes. He seemed to have understood something. Could it be? Xiaopa, it's good to know some things. Han Tianba waved his hand to stop Han Xiaopa from continuing. Yes. Han Xiaopa nodded excitedly. He was more confident in Lin Yi's victory now. What's the next round? Lin Yi asked. I don't know yet. Han Tianba smiled helplessly. I'm afraid the other hidden families already know and have made preparations. As for us, the Hidden Han family, we won't know until the very last moment of the competition. These people are all on guard against us, especially after Mr. Lin appeared. It doesn't matter. Lin Yi was just asking casually. Since there was no news, Lin Yi closed his eyes and started practicing after dinner. It was 7 at night, and a disciple of the Hidden House Zhao rushed over. Is Elder Han here? Emissary, the competition is about to start, right? Elder Han asked as he walked out of the guest room. Yes, the second round is a hidden weapon dodging competition. Elder Han, please bring the participating family members to the meeting hall, the disciple of the Zhao family said. All right. Han Tianba responded and looked at Lin Yi. After all, the decision to participate in the hidden weapon dodging competition was not up to him, but to Lin Yi. Mr. Lin. Let's go, Lin Yi said calmly. Take any of the treasures we won earlier to bet. This. All right. Han Tianba wanted to say that these things belonged to Lin Yi, so he didn't have to worry about the bet. The Han family had already prepared it, but since Lin Yi said so, he let it go. The Hidden House of Han could compensate Lin Yi in other ways anyway, so 1 or 2 treasures wouldn't make a difference. In fact, the things that Lin Yi won from the racing bets weren't very useful to him, so Lin Yi didn't mind using them to bet. On the way, Lin Yi asked, is there a winner for this hidden weapon dodging competition? Are there other families that specialize in this? That's right. Han Tianba nodded and explained. The ancestors of the Hidden Tang family were a branch of the Tang sect. The Tang sect is proficient in hidden weapons and poisons, so the Hidden Tang family is naturally very good at it. This hidden weapon dodging competition is 100% set up for the Hidden Tang family, and they definitely have the confidence to win. Lin Yi nodded and didn't say anything else. Han Tianba, Han Xiaopa, and Lin Yi went all the way to the meeting hall of the Zhao family. As expected, it was the same this time. Other than the 3 of them, the other hidden families' elders and children were all present, but they were the last ones. Chapter 2091. Of course, this hidden weapon isn't a real hidden weapon. After all, This is a trial for the descendants of each family. It's not a gamble of life and death. Therefore, we'll use metal balls as our hidden weapons. Everyone here is a fighter, so the metal balls won't harm your life. However, it will still hurt a lot. If you can't take it anymore, you can leave early. Hidden weapons are fired randomly by a specialized hidden weapon dodging machine. There's no pattern to it. The firing position of the metal balls is randomly generated by the computer. If someone is afraid of cheating, they can choose to regenerate or manually adjust the trajectory after the computer generates it. This is to prevent cheating. Every family head and sect leader has the right to choose to regenerate the trajectory. In order to prevent people from suspecting us of tampering with the training machine, just like the car race in the afternoon. Some people suspected that Qibing's car was modified. This time, we won't deliberately fix the position of each machine. Everyone can choose randomly, and you can propose to exchange positions. This afternoon was an accident. Qibing's driving skills are not a problem. If he didn't crash, he would definitely get first place. Since there are people who doubt it, then you can choose your position. Old Zhao's words were completely targeted at Han Tianba. This hidden weapon dodging competition wasn't about taking advantage of loopholes. The descendants of the Hidden Tang family studied hidden weapon shooting and dodging since they were young. Their skills were top-notch. They could win without cheating, so there was no need to cheat at all. An explanation is a cover-up. You're exposing yourself. Han Tianba snorted and said, "Since we can choose, then we'll choose first. Mr. Lin, you first." Since Elder Zhao had spoken up to this point, Lin Yi, naturally, could tell that the Zhao didn't want to play any tricks. He didn't really pick anything, and walked into the firing range of one of the weapons training machines. He stood there. At this time, the other disciples also walked out and found their own seats. Next was to generate the trajectory and path of the hidden weapon. With old Zhao's order, the hidden weapon training machine started to work. To be honest, although Lin Yi had received relatively strict assassin training when he was young, and he had also been exposed to hidden weapons training, Lin Yi wasn't specialized in this. With so many iron balls, Lin Yi was confident in dodging most of them, but he wasn't sure if he could dodge all of them. Lin Yi frowned. Was he going to admit defeat this round? He turned his head to look at the representative of the Hidden Tang family. When the representative saw Lin Yi, he smiled and nodded at him. Lin Yi was baffled by this Tang family contestant's smile. Lin Yi could tell that the smile wasn't one of mockery, nor was it one of provocation. It was a kind smile. But how could he hide the friendly smiles of the Tang family's disciples? Was that even possible? Lin Yi found it unbelievable. Frowning slightly, Lin Yi suddenly realized that this Hidden Tang family disciple looked very familiar. Could it be that he had seen him before? Was it during the Ice Palace's trial? That didn't seem to be the case. Lin Yi remembered that when he registered his name and bet, this Tang family disciple was called Tang Yuyu. However, Lin Yi didn't know what Tang Yuyu's intentions were. However, as the hidden weapons training machine's alarm sounded, Lin Yi focused and stared at the hidden weapons dodging machine without blinking. Suddenly, the jade on Lin Yi's chest emitted a warning signal. Although it was very weak, Lin Yi was stunned. Right, the jade could warn me. How could I forget? Lin Yi subconsciously dodged to the side, and the jade's warning signal disappeared. With this discovery, Lin Yi was overjoyed. That was great. If he stood at the place where the hidden weapons were about to be fired, the jade would warn him. However, if he stood at a place where there was no danger, the jade wouldn't warn him. As he was thinking, the hidden weapons training machine started to fire metal balls, and Lin Yi's footsteps started to move. When it came to dodging, Lin Yi's movement was still very fast. Especially with the jade's warning, Lin Yi didn't even look at the direction of the metal balls. He completely closed his eyes and started to walk around the ground. Anyway, as long as the jade didn't warn him, Lin Yi would stand there. After another warning, he would run away. Repeating this cycle, Lin Yi successfully dodged all the metal balls. At this time, many of the participating disciples were hit by the metal balls. Although it wasn't very painful, the number on the electronic screen was increasing. Every time they were hit, the number would increase by 1. At the moment, the only ones who hadn't been hit by the projectiles were Lin Yi and Tang Yuyu. "Boss, you can do it." Han Xiaopa clenched his fist and said in his heart. His eyes were filled with excitement. He didn't expect Lin Yi to be so good at dodging hidden weapons. The most amazing thing was that although Tang Yuyu was also dodging, there were a few close calls and he was almost hit by the metal balls. His forehead was already covered in cold sweat. Looking at Lin Yi, he had his eyes closed and was calm, as if he didn't care at all. He seemed to be walking around the field randomly, but upon closer inspection, there was a pattern. Lin Yi seemed to be able to predict the future. Before the metal balls were fired, Lin Yi was already standing in a safe place. Every time, he would always be able to kill the danger before it happened. In fact, Lin Yi was a little flustered at the beginning, just like a blind cat trying to catch a mouse. But after a long time he got used to it and found the pattern in which he dodged. The jade pendant's warning signal had a difference in strength. If he dodged slightly to the left or right, the warning signal would be different. If the left was stronger and the right was weaker, it meant that the more he dodged to the right, the less danger there was. Naturally, Lin Yi dodged to the right. After finding the pattern, Lin Yi became even more relaxed. It was as if he was taking a stroll. Every step he took was right through the gaps of the hidden weapons. Not a single metal ball could touch Lin Yi, not even the risk of brushing past him. Grandfather Tang, who was watching the match from the outside, was originally full of confidence. But when he saw Lin Yi's actions, his face suddenly turned gloomy. Even Tang Yuyu would find it hard to dodge all the hidden weapons training device. In today's competition, Tang Yuyu had already performed exceptionally well. Up until now he hadn't been hit by a single metal ball. If this was any other time, he would have been hit by one or two. But the results of one or two hits were still much better than the other participants. Chapter 2092. Translator. Nyoibo Studio Editor. Nyoibo Studio. Furthermore, there were already people who couldn't take it anymore and surrendered. They had already been hit 200 to 300 times, which meant that they were at the bottom of the competition. There was no need for them to continue taking the hits, so they might as well take the initiative to surrender. Although they were all contestants, getting hit by a few metal balls was fine, but getting hit too many times would still hurt. Not everyone from the Golden Clock Gate was not afraid of pain, so who would continue to endure? Bang! Just as Grandfather Tang was getting anxious, Tang Yuyu was finally hit by a metal ball. Grandfather Tang's heart instantly turned cold. On the other hand, Lin Yi was still so relaxed and calm, as if he wasn't dodging hidden weapons at all, but just taking a stroll. He still maintained a good score of 0. Haha, looks like boss is going to get first place again. Han Xiaopa saw that there wasn't much time left in the competition, and said with a laugh. Of course, Mr. Lin is the boss of the hidden Han family. He will definitely help us. Han Tianba nodded without hiding anything. Whether it was Old Master Zhao or Old Master Yu, they all frowned. When did this Lin Yi get involved with the Han family? How did he become the boss of the hidden Han family? This way, when dealing with the hidden Han family in the future, they would have to worry about Lin Yi. This news made everyone very unhappy, but in the end, everyone's gaze fell on the Qianshan Gate's leader. This gate leader was confident that he could get rid of Lin Yi, which meant that after the Hidden House Summit, Lin Yi would no longer exist. When that time came, it wouldn't be impossible to deal with the hidden Han family. Bang! Tang Yuyu hit another ball, causing Grandfather Tang's face to turn even uglier. Originally, he was hoping that Lin Yi could also hit a ball, so that the two of them could end in a draw and each of them could bet half the money. That wasn't too bad, but Tang Yuyu had already hit 2 balls, and Lin Yi still hadn't hit a single one. This made Grandfather Tang want to go crazy. Fuck. What was wrong with this Lin Yi? Could he be an all-rounder? Previously, he was good at racing, and now he's also good at dodging hidden weapons. It can't be so coincidental, right? Old Master Zhao was unperturbed. This round had nothing to do with his Zhao family. One of the 2 children who had given up after hitting the most balls was from the Zhao family. The Zhao family had never done such training before, so it was normal that they could not avoid it. Since they had already given up, it didn't matter who won or lost. With a sharp ring of the bell, the hidden weapon dodging competition ended. Lin Yi stopped. His score was still 0. Congratulations, boss. Han Xiaopa waited until the match was over before he dared to shout. Previously, he was afraid that he would affect Lin Yi and distract Lin Yi, So even though he was excited, he did not dare to shout. Hee, this thing is too simple. It's not challenging at all, Lin Yi said calmly. In the past I used to use bullets to practice dodging. Lin Yi's words were not exaggerated. However, even though Lin Yi used bullets to practice dodging, it was not as fast as a metal ball. Otherwise, even if Lin Yi had the jade pendant, he would not be able to escape unscathed amidst the rain of bullets. Originally, Grandfather Tang was still unconvinced. However, after hearing Lin Yi's training method, he immediately became listless. Using bullets to practice dodging? Even the Tang family would not dare to do that. No wonder Lin Yi did not even hit a single ball. If it was a real bullet, one hit would be enough to kill him. Hidden Han family wins, score 0. In second place, Hidden Tang family, score 2. In third place, Qianshan sect, score 24. Old Master Zhao calmly announced the results of the competition. The difference between first and second place was not too big. However, the difference between third place was much bigger. The reason why Qianshan sect got third place was because the disciples of Qianshan sect often hung out with spirit beasts and trained their agility. Lin Yi kept the bet and glanced at the bets for second and third place. He sighed in his heart. Why did the things he needed always end up in the hands of second and third place? Hidden Tang family's bet was a poison prevention pearl. The pearl was white and transparent, but if it was placed in poisoned water or food, it would change color. The stronger the poison, the darker the color. Of course, this poison prevention pearl was only effective against normal poisons. If it was something special, like the deadly 7 herbs poison Pinliang put in the school cafeteria, it would be ineffective. That was because the deadly 7 herbs poison was made up of 7 herbs. One herb was not poisonous, but when put together, it would be poisonous. So no matter how powerful the poison prevention pearl was, it would not be able to detect this type of poison. However, it was a good treasure to use against normal poisons. Lin Yi planned to get it for Miss and Shu. If they offended too many people, they would have a few life-saving treasures in their hands if someone wanted to harm them. The treasure that Qianshan sect took out was also a pearl, but it was registered as a 100-year spirit beast essence Niden. Although Lin Yi didn't know what this essence Niden was for, Lin Yi already had one in his hand. It might be useful. Although this essence Niden was smaller than the one in Lin Yi's hand, Lin Yi still wanted it. Old Tang, do you have anything that you want to exchange? Lin Yi glanced at Old Tang. Although he didn't have a good impression of Old Tang, Lin Yi had a good impression of Tang Yuyu. He didn't know why, but it was just a feeling. That was why Lin Yi took the initiative to ask. Old Tang did have something that he wanted from Lin Yi's pile of things. According to their agreement, this competition was won by the Hidden House Tang. In fact, if it weren't for Lin Yi's appearance, no other house would be a match for Tang Yuyu. So the blood centipede from the Hidden House Yu was very important to Old Tang. The blood centipede was very rare, and it was a good ingredient for making poisons. It was what the Hidden House Tang needed. However, Old Tang was afraid that Old Zhao would be tricked like in the car race, so he hesitated. Should he bring it up? However, in the end, Old Tang still brought it up. It was better to be safe than sorry. If Lin Yi gave up and didn't exchange the blood centipede for the treasure in his hand, and the Qianshan sect's treasure, then it would be a great loss. Chapter 2093. Then I want that lifeless fruit. Qian Mountain Gate leader Wu pointed at one of the treasures in Lin Yi's pile. Okay. Lin Yi handed the fruit to Wu without hesitation. The lifeless fruit of Vientiane wasn't meant for human consumption, and it couldn't be used to make medicine. It was meant for spirit beasts to eat. After the spirit beasts ate it, their strength would increase a little, so it wasn't very useful to Lin Yi. This little bit of energy wasn't enough for General Weiwu and Skybolt Pig to break through to the Earth class. It would be a waste to eat it, and Lin Yi didn't need this bit of energy to help them break through. Thank you. Complex emotions flashed through Wu's eyes, but he immediately made up his mind. The underworld was like this. The strong preyed on the weak, and there were many cases of people biting the hand that fed them. Whoever was more capable would have the final say. Since House Zhao, House Yu, and the Golden Clock sect had decided to give him 3 treasures, he still decided to kill Lin Yi. From his point of view, it was just a trade between him and Lin Yi. 1 for 1, he didn't know Lin Yi anything. In fact, Linny also had his eyes on the item in his hand. It didn't matter what he exchanged, he didn't have any intention of showing mercy. The bet was accepted, and the exchange was over. All the elders and sect leaders went back to rest. Today's competition was over, and the rest of the competition would continue tomorrow morning. Boss, when sect leader Wu was exchanging the primordial essence inner core with you, his eyes were flickering. It seems like there's something wrong. Han Xiaopa's observation was also very detailed, and he noticed something amiss. I can see it. Linny said, but who cares, I didn't lose anything. That lifeless fruit is useless to me. Boss, you don't want to raise spiritual beasts? Han Xiaopa was a little surprised. The lifeless fruit was a good thing. All families with spiritual beasts needed it, but Linny exchanged it for a spiritual beast's inner Dan. It was a little confusing. Raising spirit beasts. Linny nodded and said, I have 2 spirit beasts at home. Then you don't need the lifeless manifestation fruit to help them increase their strength? Han Xiaopa asked curiously. Hee, what do you think? Linny looked at Han Xiaopa with a faint smile. Ah. Han Xiaopa suddenly remembered how he had risen from golden class mid-phase to earth class late-phase peak. So that's how it is, I understand now, he exclaimed. Han Tianba didn't understand the riddle between Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa, but he was old and experienced. If Lin Yi didn't want to explain, he wouldn't ask. In any case, he was happy enough. He had won 2 matches in a row on the first day of the tournament. These hidden families and sects still wanted to take advantage of his hidden Han family? Going for wool and coming home shorn, right? By the way, do you know what this vitality inner elixir is used for? Lin Yi asked. Ah, boss, you don't know? Han Xiaopa was taken aback. He had seen Lin Yi exchange the vitality inner elixir, and thought that Lin Yi knew what it was used for. I don't know, I'm just curious. Lin Yi didn't tell him that he had another vitality inner elixir that looked even bigger than this one. Tell me, what can this thing be used for? Man, I don't know either. Han Xiaopa smiled bitterly and said, but I heard that when making some high-level elixirs, adding the vitality inner elixir can increase the success rate. Or is it necessary? It seems like blacksmiths can use it too. I don't know the specifics. I don't have any information on this. I see. Lin Yi nodded. He planned to go back and read Zhang Liju's notes when he had time. There were many elixir recipes in there. Lin Yi hadn't even learned how to concoct elixirs before, so naturally, he had no interest in studying those recipes. But when he had time, he would take a look and see if the vitality inner elixir could be used for concocting elixirs. Lin Yi, Han Tianba, and Han Xiaopa went back to rest. However, the elders of the hidden houses and the masters of the sects had returned, and were now sitting in the hidden house Zhao's meeting hall. Everyone, let's talk. Are we just going to forget about what happened today? The one who was the most dissatisfied was Elder Zhao. As the organizer, he didn't get any benefits. In exchange for a 500-year thin lotus flower, he was tricked by Lin Yi. What else can we do? Send a thief to steal those things back? Elder Tang was troubled as well. He was a loser today as well, but he didn't lose as badly as House Zhao. Anyway, Lin Yi is going to die sooner or later. It's just a matter of a few days. Elder Yu said faintly. Right, Headmaster Wa? That's right. Headmaster Wa nodded. I don't have much of a relationship with that Lin Yi. Today, it's just a fair trade. Don't worry, I will do what I say. Doormaster Wa's promise made old Zhao and old Tang feel much better. If Lin Yi were to die, they would be able to vent their anger. Let's not talk about these things in the past. What I'm worried about now is the remaining matches. The one who spoke was Elder Pai. Lin Yi had won 2 matches in a row, and he couldn't sit still anymore. Chapter 2094. From the looks of it, it's only Han Xiaopa. According to the investigation, Han Xiaopa is only a master in the middle phase of the golden class. Such a weakling, no matter if it's a shotgun or a cannon, as long as he gets on the stage, we will win the match. You're confident, but we're not. The old man from House Pai frowned. I heard that Lin Yi killed 3 Earth-class masters with one move. That technique must be very powerful. In tomorrow's match, I'm afraid that we, the hidden House Pai, are not Lin Yi's opponents. That's not true. The old man from the hidden house, you said. As far as I know, Linny practices fire element martial arts. Although it's powerful, it's used against enemies. Our match is to hit a boulder, and whoever can break the boulder into pieces with one move will win. Although the fire element martial arts can burn people to death, it can't burn rocks. High temperature is useless against rocks. Even if you use internal force, you can only break it into 2 or 3 pieces. But your house pie specializes in external martial arts. Not to mention that you have no connection with the ancient sect Holy Fist Palace. When the time comes, you can break the boulder into several small pieces with one punch. Who can avoid you? The Holy Fist Palace was an ancient sect that practiced external martial arts. They were famous for the power of their fists. With one punch, they could split mountains and seas. That was why they were called the Holy Fist Palace. An old ancestor of the Hidden House Pie once served as the Great Elder of the Holy Fist Palace. Although he disappeared later, the Hidden House Pie and the Holy Fist Palace still had some connection. Of course, if the Great Elder was still there, the Hidden House Pie would not be so weak. It would have become an aristocratic family that was on par with House Yu and House Yu. But even so, House Pie's Kung Fu had more or less received some favors from the Holy Fist Palace. They had very high attainments in Kung Fu, especially in martial arts, which was obtained directly from the Holy Fist Palace. It was extremely overbearing. Yes, even I can't block a blow from the heaven-class masters of the Holy Fist Palace. Hee, this is a martial arts competition. What does House Pie have to worry about? The master of the Golden Bell sect, Jin Gang, said. That makes sense. Old Man Pie nodded, feeling much more at ease. The main thing was that today's incident had left a huge psychological shadow in his heart, making him feel a little uneasy. Alright, there's no need for us to worry about nothing. Old Yu added, when the time comes, we'll add a rule to the single and double arenas forbidding the use of martial arts. Without martial arts, we'll see how that Linny is going to win. Exactly. Master Zhuang agreed at once. The single elimination matches were House Yu's cup of tea, and the double elimination matches were House Zhuang's cup of tea. If Linny couldn't use his martial arts, then their chances of winning would be much higher. Linny could not use his martial arts, but he was not worried that his disciples would be injured. Since it was settled, these elders and sect masters went back to rest in peace, preparing for the next day's competition. The next morning, House Zhao's disciple delivered the same exquisite dishes. Lin Yi, Han Tianba, and Han Xiaopa finished their breakfast and waited quietly for the notification. As expected, at 9 in the morning, the disciple from yesterday ran over. Is Old Master Han here? Today's competition is about to begin. Please bring your disciples to the meeting room to register and place your bets. Alright. Han Tianba and Lin Yi were already prepared, so they followed the disciple to the meeting room. They were already used to being the last to arrive at the meeting room. Lin Yi could always win with these people's conspiracies anyways, so there was no need to worry about them. The third match, the first match of the day, is a battle of martial arts. Grandpa Zhao waited for Han Tianba to register, place his bet, and take his seat. Then he began to introduce the rules of the competition. The so-called martial arts competition is a competition in which each contestant uses a martial arts skill. The target of the martial arts skill is a hard boulder. The contestant who breaks the boulder into smaller pieces wins the competition. Of course, only fist-sized pieces are counted, not the residue. Does anyone have any objections? After all, even if a large rock was broken into 2, there might be a certain number of small fragments. If those small fragments were counted one by one, it would be impossible to count them all. So naturally, the technical standard was to use the size of a fist and above as a stone. What kind of rule is this? What if someone punches the boulder into smithereens, and most of the fragments are smaller than a fist? According to what you're saying, it's still considered a loss? Han Xiaopa listened carefully to the rules and immediately found a loophole in it. Actually, it wasn't that the others couldn't find the loopholes, it was just that they didn't think too much about it. After all, the winner of this round was the Hidden House Pie, so no matter what, the Hidden House Pie would win. But when Han Xiaopa brought it up, Elder Zhao was speechless. Yeah, if that was the case, then wouldn't there be a problem with the rules? That's easy. What Elder Zhao said is the first rule. If what Han Xiaopa said really happens, then everyone will take out the biggest rock from their pile. Whoever has the smallest rock will be the winner. Old Man Pai thought that after Han Xiaopa heard the rules, he felt that his chances of winning were not high, so he added a rule calmly. That doesn't mean that the person with the smallest piece will have the most pieces, Han Xiaopa said. Then what do you say? Elder Pai frowned impatiently. It seemed like he needed to be stricter with the rules in the future. At the very least, he couldn't let Han Xiaopa find any loopholes. As for how he reacted afterwards, it didn't count. It's fine, Xiaopa, this is the rule. Lin Yi shook his head, stopping Han Xiaopa from asking any more questions. To Lin Yi, this rule wasn't a problem anymore. Contestants have no problems, non-contestants, please don't cause trouble. Elder Pai relaxed a little upon hearing Lin Yi's voice. He thought that Lin Yi didn't have the confidence to win no matter what, and so he didn't want Han Xiaopa to keep messing around, wanting to end the match as soon as possible. Alright, since everyone has no problems, then let's go to the training field behind the meeting hall, and get ready for the competition, Elder Zhao said. Chapter 2095. Alright, this is the battleground. Everyone gets a boulder. Choose whatever you like. Elder Zhao said. Everyone can only use one martial skill, regardless of the rank. But remember, you can only use one skill. If you try to use a second skill, you'll be disqualified. Han Xiaopa had seen Lin Yi use Wood Forest 1,000 transformations before. The third style could be used as 3 punches, and if all 3 punches landed on the boulder, the damage would be much worse than the others, right? So Han Xiaopa was very confident. Boss, you can do it. Han Xiaopa cheered Lin Yi on. Huh. Lin Yi smiled faintly as he walked over to a random boulder. The boulder was about the height of a person, and 3 meters wide. But when Lin Yi got close, he didn't rush to use his martial skill. The time limit was 1 skill, so Lin Yi wasn't in a rush. He wanted to see how the others were doing, and then choose his own martial skill. Lin Yi didn't move, but the disciples of the other hidden houses and sects had already started channeling their arts, preparing to use their skills. Lin Yi turned around and looked at the elders and sect masters. His eyes swept across their faces, and he could see some clues. Out of all the elders and sect masters, the Hidden House Pai's Elder Pai was the calmest and most excited, while the others were looking on anxiously. Lin Yi could tell that the Hidden House Pai was the winner of this competition. As for the other houses and sects, they were fighting for the 2nd and 3rd place. 2nd and 3rd place didn't matter to Lin Yi, and he turned his attention to the Hidden House Pai's contestant. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that the Hidden House Pai contestant also turned to look at Lin Yi. Lin Yi saw shock, confusion, and deep hatred in his eyes. This Hidden House Pai's disciple was Pai Zhihai. He'd met him once in the Ice Palace's trial, the Earth class that got kicked out by Elder Li at the start of the trial. Back in the Ice Palace, Lin Yi used the alias Ling Yi, and he had some bad blood with the Pai brothers. When Pai Zhishan and Pai Zhihai were disqualified for the trial because they hid their strength, Lin Yi only smiled, and the Pai brothers vented their anger on Lin Yi. But Lin Yi wasn't afraid of them. There was no need to hide Lin Yi's identity anymore, and Lin Yi's identity had a deep grudge with the Hidden House Pai. All the Hidden House Pai masters were either crippled by Lin Yi, or killed by Lin Yi's lackeys. So seeing the surprised look from Pai Zhihai, Lin Yi grinned and turned away, ignoring him. Pai Zhihai didn't participate in the Ice Palace trial, so naturally he didn't know what happened. The Hidden House's heirs were ordered to keep their mouths shut, so Pai Zhihai didn't know what happened after that, and no news reached the Hidden House Pai. And so Pai Zhihai didn't think that Lin Yi was very strong. He was just puzzled. Didn't Lin Yi get crippled by Zhang Naipeo from the Everyday and Everyday sect? Why did it look like he had recovered? Plus, Lin Yi was an enemy of the Hidden House Pai. Pai Zhihai's hatred turned into strength, and he was going to use it in this battle. He heard that Lin Yi had won twice already, so he couldn't let Lin Yi win again. Pai Zhihai took a deep breath, waved his hands, and mobilized the spiritual energy around him, ready to activate the external martial technique, Heaven and Earth Fist. The Heaven and Earth Divine Fist was a high-level martial arts technique of the Holy Fist Palace. Those who cultivated it to the profound realm would have the power to split mountains and seas with one punch. Although Pai Zhihai had only learned the first 3 moves, he could still exert a strong power. He relied on the powerful boxing skills of external martial arts. So in this martial arts competition, he was confident that no one could be his opponent. Boom! Pai Jihai punched out, and the boulder in front of him instantly shattered into pieces. With his fist as the center, the boulder exploded in all directions, and the huge boulder instantly became many smaller pieces. Pai Jihai looked at the situation around him, and smiled in satisfaction at his work. Although many of the disciples from the hidden families had powerful martial techniques, they were only powerful when fighting against the enemy. For a big rock, many of them were helpless. The weakest disciple from the hidden families could only smash the big rock into 2 pieces. Pai Jihai, on the other hand, smashed the big rock into at least 70 or 80 small pieces, including the small pieces. There were more than 100 pieces. Obviously, he didn't think he was the winner. After doing all this, Pai Jihai looked at Lin Yi again, but Lin Yi did not make a move, but looked at him with a faint smile. Lin Yi's action made Pai Jihai a little confused. Why was this guy not activating his martial technique, but looking at him here? Pai Jihai frowned, and suddenly saw Lin Yi smile at him strangely, then turned his head and stopped looking at him. Lin Yi's action made Pai Jihai more and more confused, and also a little uneasy. Lin Yi saw that he had smashed the rock into so many pieces. And not only was he not worried, but he was also smiling? Could it be that this guy had some kind of powerful trump card? Lin Yi didn't have any powerful trump cards, and Lin Yi was just hesitating whether to use Frenzy Fist or 1,000 Changes of the Forest. But now it seemed that neither of them would work. Pai Jihai's punch was really something. Lin Yi's Frenzy Fist and 1,000 Changes of the Forest were powerful, but it couldn't guarantee a 100% win. After all, Pai Jihai's martial technique was also very good, not weaker than his. Plus, external martial techniques had a certain advantage. So if Lin Yi wanted to win, he couldn't use martial techniques. Thinking of this, Lin Yi began to compress qi. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that in these 3 matches, 2 of them would need qi bombs to win. However, Lin Yi was getting more and more familiar with the qi bomb, and he didn't have the nervousness and fear from before. As long as he controlled it well, and didn't condense the super bomb that gathered all the qi in his body, it wouldn't be dangerous for Lin Yi. Unless he met an enemy that he couldn't fight against, there was no point in Lin Yi using the super bomb. Although this rock was big, in Lin Yi's opinion, it was only 1/10 of the qi in his body, and it was enough to smash it into pieces. Chapter 2096. What was Lin Yi thinking? Why hadn't he used his skills yet? Did he want to give up, or was he preparing a more powerful skill? Other than Lin Yi, everyone else had completed their skills, and were waiting for the Zhao family's disciples to tally up their scores. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was still standing there. Even Han Tianba and Han Xiaopa were puzzled by this strange situation. What was Lin Yi doing? In fact, Han Tianba and Han Xiaopa had seen Lin Yi's Phantom 1,000 Changes when they were in the hidden Han family. They thought that Lin Yi would definitely win. However, when they saw Pai Jihai's skills, their confidence was shaken. Lin Yi's Phantom 1,000 Changes was powerful, but Pai Jihai's skills were not weak either. That was why Han Tianba and Han Xiaopa were worried. Lin Yi's performance was not looking good. In fact, Han Tianba and Han Xiaopa had thought that Lin Yi winning the car race would be good enough. This was because the hidden Han family had invited Lin Yi for this race. However, after Lin Yi won the hidden weapon dodging competition yesterday, Han Tianba and Han Xiaopa were looking forward to Lin Yi's consecutive victories. That way, the hidden Han family's status would also rise. Although the hidden Han family had invited external help, this external help was not an outsider. It was the hidden Han family's boss, Lin Yi. Xiaopa, with Mr. Lin's skills he might not be able to win, but he should be able to get second place. Han Tianba was optimistic. Although he couldn't get first place, getting second place was already a great honor. Although he couldn't win the bet, he wouldn't lose it either. It was a great honor. Yes. Han Xiaopa nodded. He was a little depressed. Lin Yi, are you going to use your skills or not? Pai Jishan and Pai Jihai were very close. So when Pai Jihai came to participate, Pai Jishan naturally came to support him. Pai Jihai recognized Lin Yi. He naturally recognized Lin Yi as well. At this time, with the hatred he had formed in the Ice Palace trial, he was even more displeased with Lin Yi. So he asked sarcastically, "Is there a time limit in the competition rules? Who do you think you are? Do you think you're Lord Zhao?" Linny looked at Pai Zhishan coldly, then said to Grandpa Zhao, "Grandpa Zhao, someone is pretending to be you." "Pretending to be me?" Grandpa Zhao was stunned. He took a while to understand what Linny meant by pretending to be you. Linny meant that Pai Zhishan was pretending to be him. This made Grandpa Zhao furious. Pai Zhishan didn't mean it that way, but what he said was a little too much. Old Zhao had no place to vent his anger. He could only say coldly, "Pai Zhishan, there are no rules in this competition. Don't talk nonsense." However, "Linny, everyone is waiting for you. Shouldn't you hurry up as well?" "Haha, alright, I'll give you some face then," Linny said faintly. "At first, I thought that you guys were quite pitiful after not winning a single race, so I wanted to forfeit. But old Zhao, it seems like you still want me to win. Alright, as you wish." As soon as Linny finished his sentence, he pretended to circulate the qi in the air. He suddenly clasped his hands together and pushed them out. Vacuum wave punch. This vacuum wave punch wasn't a secret to these hidden houses. Linny had used this move when he fought against House Yu. So no one suspected that Linny wasn't using a martial arts technique, but his unique energy bomb. Linny did this to hide his trump card, and to make it so that no one would be able to see through it. They wouldn't be able to link Zhao Qibing's flat tire incident to him. After all, it was impossible to divert one's attention to activate one's martial arts skills when driving a racing car, especially when going around a bend. Doing so would be suicidal. Boom dash, a loud explosion sounded. The boulder in front of Lin Yi was blasted apart by Lin Yi's powerful martial arts technique, turning it into small pieces that were smaller than pebbles. Lin Yi had purposely suppressed the power of the energy bomb. If he'd compressed it a bit more, the boulder would have been blown to smithereens, but that would have been too shocking, so Lin Yi didn't do that. However, when Lin Yi activated his practitioner's arts, his strength was instantly exposed. In the previous 2 races, Lin Yi didn't use pure qi, so these old masters and sect masters didn't know Lin Yi's strength. But at this moment, they could clearly feel Lin Yi's Earth-class early phase strength. This was the result of Lin Yi suppressing it on purpose. In fact, Lin Yi wanted to suppress it lower to confuse them, but Mystic class couldn't use martial arts, and suppressing it to Mystic class would make people suspect that he wasn't using martial arts. So Lin Yi could only suppress it from the peak of early phase to early phase. Earth-class early phase. Old Zhao looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. Lin Yi was Earth-class early phase? How was this possible? The others, such as House Yu's old man and House Yu's old man, were also confused. Lin Yi was an Earth-class early phase. How did he kill 3 Earth-class masters in one hit? Even if the martial arts technique Lin Yi used was powerful, it wasn't enough to kill 3 Earth-class masters in one hit. Could it be that there was more to it? Was Lin Yi suppressing his strength, or was his other martial art stronger? "I'm sorry, I didn't think that I would still win after trying so hard to control myself. Using my weakest martial arts technique and my weakest strength." Lin Yi shook his head and mumbled to himself. "This victory was too easy. But I had no choice, the old man wanted me to fight, so I couldn't just forfeit, so I gave him some face." Pai Zhishan's eyes were full of hatred. Without a doubt, he knew that Lin Yi had won when he saw the pile of rocks. He really wanted to curse at Lin Yi for acting tough and trying to sow discord between House Zhao and House Pai. This Lin Yi actually said that he wanted to forfeit, but old Zhao forced him to. Wasn't this saying that House Pai should have won, but lost because of old Zhao's words? However, Pai Zhishan wasn't an idiot, and naturally wouldn't fall for this provocation. He just humphed and ignored it. "Oh right, you can't blame old Zhao, I misunderstood him." Lin Yi smiled. "I forgot that you were the one who urged me first. If you didn't, I might have forfeited."